The sky above Chicago was already burning when the first Viltrumite hit the ground hard enough to split the planet's skin. Glass liquefied. Skyscrapers folded like paper. The air screamed. Hundreds of them, identical faces, identical rage, descended from orbit like a rain of gods. Each one wore the same blue and yellow uniform. Each one had the same cold eyes. Each one was invincible. The Invincible War had begun. A Mark Grayson from one universe smashed through a hospital, dragging another Mark by the throat. "You don't get to save them," he roared, slamming him through 6 floors of concrete. Blood exploded into mist across the skyline. Another variant hovered above Lake Michigan and clapped his hands together. The shockwave erased 3 city blocks. On a rooftop, the real Mark Grayson struggled to breathe, his costume torn open, ribs showing through blood and shredded fabric. He stared at the sky filled with versions of himself, some laughing, some cold, some utterly merciless. "This isn't possible," he whispered. Behind him, Atom Eve floated, pink energy crackling desperately around her palms. She reshaped falling debris into harmless petals mid-air, saving civilians by the second. Sweat rolled down her face. "It's Angstrom," she said through clenched teeth. "He's pulling them from everywhere." And then the clouds didn't part. They shattered. A line of golden fire ripped across the heavens, not falling, arriving. The atmosphere detonated outward as something punched through it faster than light. Air ignited into spirals of white plasma. Every invincible in the sky paused. Every single one. Because what was descending wasn't one of them. It wasn't even human. He landed without bending his knees. The impact didn't crack the ground. The ground bowed. Concrete cratered in a perfect circle beneath his boots, as if gravity itself had been commanded to kneel. Dust spiraled upward but never touched him. His armor gleamed dark blue beneath the smoke, white gloves, white boots, and hair like a black flame. Vegeta lifted his head slowly, eyes scanning the carnage. His scouter flickered briefly before popping uselessly. He exhaled. Pathetic. A Viltrumite variant blurred forward instantly, fist cocked back. Another one? Good. The punch connected. The shockwave erased a building behind Vegeta. Vegeta did not move. He looked down at the fist buried in his armor. Then he looked back up. The invincible variant's expression shifted, confusion, then dread. Vegeta's hand came up casually and grabbed the attacker's wrist. The air cracked. The Viltrumite screamed as his arm bent the wrong direction. Vegeta didn't twist it hard. He twisted it precisely. The bone shattered like glass. Before the scream finished, Vegeta's forehead snapped forward. The headbutt created a thunderclap that silenced half the battlefield. The invincible variant rocketed upward, body spiraling uncontrollably through 3 of his own variants before disappearing into orbit. Silence rippled across the sky. From miles above, another Mark snarled, "Kill him!" They moved together. 50 red streaks. 50 sonic booms. They hit Vegeta at once. The city disappeared inside a sphere of destruction, an expanding dome of pulverized steel and vaporized asphalt. The ground liquefied. Lake Michigan rose in a towering tidal wall. Eve screamed Mark's name. Mark tried to stand. And then the sphere imploded. A pillar of blue-white light tore straight through the sky. The shockwave reversed. Clouds spiraled inward. Within the collapsing vortex, Vegeta floated, untouched. Electricity danced around him like living veins. His eyes glowed faintly. "You insects think numbers matter?" His voice carried across miles without him raising it. "You are warriors, yes, but you lack pride." Another Invincible roared and drove a knee into Vegeta's spine. For half a second, Vegeta vanished. The Viltrumite blinked. Vegeta reappeared above him and drove a heel down into his back. The impact detonated the air. The Viltrumite shot downward like a meteor, piercing the earth and disappearing beneath it. Before the dust settled, Vegeta extended 2 fingers. Golden energy, condensed, dense, surgical. He flicked his wrist. The beam pierced through 3 Invincibles in a line before exploding in the upper atmosphere like a miniature sun. The sky flashed gold. Blood fell like rain. Mark stared, breath ragged. "Who is that?" Eve's voice trembled. "He's not from here." High above, more variants hesitated for the first time since the invasion began. Then a voice boomed across the planet. Cold, calculating. "You are not of this dimension." Reality tore open like paper being dragged across a blade. A circular fracture formed mid-air, glowing green with unstable energy. From within stepped Angstrom Levy. His massive, scarred brain pulsed visibly beneath translucent skin. Portals shimmered behind him, each showing a different world in chaos. Angstrom's eyes locked onto Vegeta. "I did not summon you." Vegeta's lip curled. "Summon?" Angstrom gestured sharply. 10 Invincibles attacked at once from different angles. Vegeta didn't transform. He didn't need to. He moved through them like inevitability. A palm strike shattered a rib cage, an elbow crushed a jaw, a backhand erased teeth and spine in the same motion. He caught one by the face mid-charge and drove him horizontally through 6 others. Every hit precise. Every kill efficient. But they kept coming, because they were Viltrumites. And Viltrumites did not break easily. One variant wrapped his arms around Vegeta from behind, squeezing with planet-cracking force. "No!" 3 others slammed into Vegeta simultaneously. The ground gave way. They drove him deep underground, carving a molten tunnel beneath the city. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the earth exploded upward. A column of blinding gold erupted from beneath the crust. The entire skyline shook. Mark shielded Eve instinctively as buildings swayed. From within the pillar emerged Vegeta. Different. Hair now blazing upward in radiant gold. Eyes emerald and merciless. Lightning snapping around him in violent arcs. Super Saiyan. His aura roared like a star being born. The nearest Invincible disintegrated before even touching him, reduced to ash by proximity alone. Vegeta hovered above the ruins, energy bending the atmosphere around him. Angstrom's eyes widened for the first time. This level of power. Impossible. Vegeta raised one hand slowly toward the sky. Energy gathered, not chaotic, focused. The air turned heavy. Every Invincible felt it, an instinct older than language. Death. Mark stared upward, whispering, "He's going to destroy the planet." Vegeta smirked faintly. "I have no interest in your world." The sphere in his palm condensed into a star. "Only in ending your little war." He thrust his hand forward. The blast split into hundreds of beams mid-flight, each curving like guided comets. They struck, one after another. Precision, annihilation. Explosions bloomed across the sky in synchronized bursts of gold and crimson. Viltrumite bodies tore apart mid-air. Shockwaves rippled across continents. Within seconds, half the army was gone. Silence tried to return. It didn't last, because Angstrom was smiling now. "You think you've won?" Behind him, thousands of portals began opening. Thousands. Each one glowing green, each one revealing another sky filled with another army of Invincibles. Vegeta's aura flared brighter. Mark's stomach dropped. Eve whispered. That's not an army. That's extinction. Angstrom spread his arms wide as reality fractured further. I can pull them forever. The sky disappeared behind green fractures. The earth trembled. Vegeta looked upward. For the first time, his smirk faded, and his eyes sharpened. Good. His aura exploded outward, shattering windows across the state. Then I won't hold back. The first of the new wave descended, and Vegeta began to power up again. The planet started to crack beneath him. The planet groaned. Not metaphorically, not dramatically. It groaned. Fault lines screamed beneath the crust as golden lightning spiderwebbed across the atmosphere. The sky above Chicago was no longer blue. It was molten gold and sickly green, torn open by thousands of portals. Each portal vomited another army of invincibles. Thousands of Mark Grayson variants hovered like a swarm of red-eyed gods, their capes whipping violently in the pressure storm radiating from one single figure. Vegeta floated at the center of it all, Super Saiyan aura roaring upward like a stellar flare. The air around him wasn't air anymore, it was distortion. Light bent around his body. Sound fractured. Below, the real Mark tried to steady himself against a cracked rooftop. Blood ran into his eye. He's going to split the earth in half. Beside him, Atom Eve clenched her fists, pink energy trembling violently. No! He's trying not to. High above, Angstrom Levy raised his arms, brain pulsing brighter with every new portal. You are strong, he called out, voice amplified across dimensions, but strength without infinity is meaningless. Vegeta slowly tilted his head. Infinity? His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. You mistake quantity for power. The first 1,000 invincibles attacked. They moved as one. A crimson tidal wave of fists, knees, elbows, planet-breaking force converging on a single golden star. The collision was apocalyptic. The impact erased clouds across half the continent. Lake Michigan exploded upward in a spiraling vortex. The skyline folded inward like it had been struck by a falling moon. For a moment, Vegeta vanished inside the swarm. Mark's breath caught. Eve whispered, "No." Then the swarm stopped moving. A pulse detonated from its center. Not outward. Through. A spherical shockwave ripped in every direction, not just pushing the invincibles back, but tearing through them. Bodies spun away mid-attack, ribs shattered, skulls cracked, lungs ruptured by internal force alone. Vegeta reappeared in the epicenter, untouched. His aura had changed. Sharper, denser. Electricity coiled tighter around his frame, snapping violently between his shoulders and fists. He blurred. Not fast. Gone. He reappeared behind one invincible and drove a punch clean through his chest. Before the body fell, Vegeta grabbed another by the cape and swung him like a weapon into 3 more. Bones splintered, blood atomized. An invincible roared and wrapped both arms around Vegeta's neck from behind, squeezing with enough force to crush a battleship. Vegeta's eye twitched. That tickles. He slammed his head backward. The Viltrumite's skull imploded. Vegeta grabbed the corpse and hurled it into a portal mid-flight, the body vanishing into another dimension. 5 more slammed into him at once, driving him downward. They smashed through skyscrapers, through subways, through the bedrock itself, tunneling toward the mantle. Magma erupted upward as they tried to bury him alive in planetary pressure. Underground darkness swallowed them. Then, the earth split open. A beam of golden fury carved upward from the mantle to the sky, disintegrating everything in its path. The 5 invincibles inside the molten tunnel were erased instantly. Vegeta emerged from the wound in the planet, steam rising off his armor. Above him, tens of thousands remained. Angstrom's smile widened. Adapt all you want, I have worlds to spare. Vegeta hovered silently. His aura flickered. Then it imploded inward. For half a second, everything went quiet. Even the Invincibles hesitated. The gold faded. Black hair returned. Mark blinked in confusion. He powered down. Eve's eyes widened. No, he compressed it. Vegeta clenched his fists at his sides. Veins rose along his temples. The ground beneath Chicago began lifting into the air, not exploding, not shattering, rising. Entire city blocks floated upward under invisible pressure. Angstrom's smile faltered. Vegeta's scream tore across the planet. It wasn't rage. It was ascension. Lightning detonated outward in violent blue arc. His hair snapped upward again, but sharper, more rigid, glowing like forged metal. The aura turned electric blue, dense, terrifying, Super Saiyan blue. The oceans recoiled from shorelines. Satellites malfunctioned in orbit. Every Invincible in the sky felt it at once, a pressure beyond Viltrumite evolution. Vegeta lifted his eyes. Now they burned with calm execution. "Let me show you," he said softly, "what real power looks like."
He vanished. This time, there were no visible movements. Invincibles simply began exploding mid-air. One's head snapped sideways from an unseen strike. Another's torso folded inward from a blow no one saw coming. Entire clusters detonated outward as Vegeta moved through them faster than thought. He wasn't fighting anymore. He was erasing. 10 fell. 50, 100 in seconds. The sky turned into a storm of falling bodies. Mark could barely track the blue streak carving through his variants. He's not even trying. Eve swallowed. He's hunting. An army of Invincibles regrouped, forming a massive rotating sphere formation mid-air, thousands locking arms, compressing inward like a living wrecking ball. They charged. A planet-sized battering ram. Vegeta hovered still, waiting. At the last possible second, he raised one hand. The sphere collided with his palm. The world went white. Shockwaves rippled across continents, flattening forests hundreds of miles away. The floating debris of Chicago vaporized. For a second, it looked like the swarm had overpowered him. Then cracks formed across the sphere. Blue light burst through from within. Vegeta roared and pushed. The entire formation shattered outward like glass hit by a cannon. Thousands of Invincibles spiraled away, broken and bleeding. Some didn't survive the force alone. Angstrom's breathing quickened. This isn't supposed to happen. Vegeta pointed 2 fingers upward. A sphere of condensed blue energy formed instantly above his hand, smaller than before, but denser. The air around it screamed. "This ends now." He flicked it upward. The sphere stopped mid-sky, then multiplied. Hundreds of identical spheres appeared instantly around it, forming a massive constellation of annihilation. Every remaining Invincible looked up. Too late. The spheres detonated simultaneously. Not chaotic explosions. Controlled extinction. Each blast targeted a cluster with surgical precision. Blue suns ignited across the sky, vaporizing Viltrumite bodies down to molecular dust. The portals flickered violently as shockwaves destabilized Angstrom's dimensional network. Mark shielded his eyes from the radiance. When the light finally faded, the sky was empty. No army, no swarm, only drifting ash. Silence returned to Earth for the first time since the war began.
Vegeta hovered alone beneath a cracked atmosphere, aura slowly dimming but still blazing. Angstrom trembled in mid-air, staring at the emptiness where infinite armies had stood. You're not a variable, he whispered. Vegeta turned slowly toward him. No. Blue lightning snapped between his fingers. I'm the conclusion. Angstrom snarled in desperation and ripped open a portal behind himself, larger than the rest. From within it came a presence heavier than the others. Slower, older. A silhouette stepped forward from the dimensional rift. Broad shoulders, black mustache, eyes filled not with rage, but conquest. Mark's heart stopped. Dad? Omni-Man stepped through the portal, but not the one Mark knew. This version's uniform was torn, soaked in the blood of countless worlds. His gaze locked immediately onto Vegeta. And for the first time since arriving, Vegeta's aura flared higher, not from effort, from interest. Omni-Man hovered forward, cracking his neck slowly. So, he said calmly, voice like distant thunder, you're the one killing my army. Vegeta smirked faintly. Finally, he murmured. The two warriors faced each other mid-air. Below them, the earth trembled. Angstrom smiled weakly behind them. Let's see, he whispered, which god breaks first. Blue lightning and Viltrumite pressure collided invisibly between the two titans. The sky darkened, and neither moved. The air between them cracked first. Not a punch, not a blast, just pressure. Invisible force slammed outward from the space separating Vegeta and Omni-Man, flattening the ruins of Chicago even further. Concrete that had survived the Invincible War finally disintegrated into dust. Windows across neighboring states shattered in cascading ripples. Omni-Man didn't blink. Neither did Vegeta. Below, the real Mark Grayson hovered shakily, blood dripping from his chin. His fists trembled not from exhaustion, from recognition. That's not my dad, he whispered. Beside him, Atom Eve swallowed. No, that's a conqueror. High above, Omni-Man spoke first, calm, measured. You possess tremendous power, he said, floating forward slightly. But power without purpose is wasted. Join me. Together, we could cleanse thousands of worlds. Vegeta's lip curled. Cleanse. His aura flickered brighter blue, lightning crawling along his shoulders. You mistake genocide for ambition? Omni-Man's eyes hardened. And you mistake sentiment for strength. He vanished. The sonic boom came after the punch. Omni-Man's fist connected with Vegeta's jaw, and the sky detonated outward in a perfect ring. The impact hurled Vegeta across the atmosphere, carving a blue streak through cloud layers and sending shockwaves rippling across the curvature of the earth. Mark gasped. He hit him! The sentence died in his throat because Vegeta stopped mid-flight, slowly turned his head back into place, and wiped a thin line of blood from his lip. Omni-Man was already there again, another punch, then another, a relentless barrage of Viltrumite force. Each strike landed with continent-shaking concussions. The ocean below split apart in massive trenches as shockwaves hammered the surface. Vegeta blocked the next blow. The collisions split the sky vertically. Their fists locked, muscle against muscle, blue aura against Viltrumite might. The air screamed between them. Omni-Man pushed harder, teeth gritting. You bleed. That means you can fall. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. And you talk too much. He twisted his wrist sharply. Bone cracked. Omni-Man's forearm bent unnaturally, but the Viltrumite didn't cry out. He drove his head forward instead, smashing into Vegeta's face. The impact created a blinding flash that knocked satellites from orbit. They separated violently, both hovering now with visible damage. Omni-Man's arm snapped back into place with a sickening pop. Vegeta rolled his neck once. Then he disappeared, This time, Omni-Man barely reacted before Vegeta's knee slammed into his ribs from below. The shockwave launched Omni-Man upward into the exosphere. Vegeta followed instantly, grabbing him by the cape and spinning, then hurling him downward like a meteor. Omni-Man hit Earth hard enough to shift tectonic plates. A crater the size of a city bloomed outward. Mark staggered as the ground beneath him tilted. From the crater's center, Omni-Man rose again, bleeding now, uniform shredded further, mustache stained red. He smiled. Good. He shot upward faster than before. They collided again mid-air. No hesitation now, no testing. Fists blurred, elbows cracked. Knees drove into organs with enough force to rupture mountains. Every strike created explosions of compressed air that detonated like artillery shells across the globe. Vegeta caught Omni-Man's punch and twisted sideways, driving a palm strike into his chest. A blue pulse erupted point blank. Omni-Man rocketed backward through 3 miles of atmosphere before regaining control. He wiped blood from his mouth. Then his eyes shifted. Calculating. He dove, not at Vegeta, at the planet. Vegeta's eyes widened slightly. Omni-Man smashed into Earth's crust deliberately, driving deep, deeper than before. Magma erupted skyward as he burrowed toward the mantle again. Mark's stomach dropped. "No, he's not." Eve's voice went cold. "He's going to crack the core. If Omni-Man destabilized the planet's interior, billions would die." Vegeta hovered for half a second, then vanished downward. Underground darkness swallowed them both. Silence. Then the Earth convulsed. A fissure split across continents as shockwaves rippled outward from beneath the crust. Volcanoes erupted spontaneously. Oceans recoiled violently. Deep below, in a cavern of molten rock and crushing pressure, Omni-Man drove punch after punch into Vegeta's guard, trying to force him deeper toward the unstable mantle core. "You care about this world," Omni-Man growled, "then die protecting it." Vegeta blocked another strike, boots digging into molten stone. "You think," he hissed, "I need this planet intact to defeat you?" His aura flared violently blue, vaporizing magma instantly into steam. He grabbed Omni-Man by the face and drove him upward. They erupted from the Earth in a column of blue fire, tearing through crust and ocean in a single violent ascent. Water exploded into vapor as they pierced back into the sky. Vegeta hurled Omni-Man into orbit, then followed. Above the planet, suspended against the black void, Omni-Man steadied himself, breathing harder now. Vegeta floated opposite him, aura flickering but stable. Omni-Man's eyes shifted downward toward Earth, then back to Vegeta. "If I cannot conquer this world," he said quietly, "I will ensure it never exists." He shot downward again, but not to the crust. To the moon. Mark's eyes widened as he followed the trajectory. "He's going to..." Omni-Man slammed into the moon's surface and began punching. Each strike sent cracks racing across its surface. He wasn't attacking Vegeta anymore. He was breaking the moon apart. If the moon shattered, tidal forces would annihilate the planet. Vegeta hovered in orbit for a single heartbeat. Then his aura exploded brighter than before. Blue deepened into something heavier, darker. Electric arcs intensified it. His pupils sharpened. Enough. The transformation wasn't loud. It was compressed. Controlled fury. Ultra instinct wasn't his path. But something close to divine precision flickered in his movements now. He vanished, reappearing in front of Omni-Man mid-swing. Omni-Man's punch never landed. Vegeta's fist drove into his abdomen with devastating precision, bypassing muscle and bone, disrupting organs internally. Omni-Man choked. Before he could recover, Vegeta grabbed him by the throat and hurled him off the moon's surface. They streaked back toward Earth like twin comets. At the last second, Vegeta spun mid-air and slammed Omni-Man downward into the upper atmosphere, dragging him across it in a blazing arc of fire that lit the sky like a second sunrise. They crashed back into Chicago's ruins. The impact flattened everything left standing. Dust rolled outward for miles. When it cleared, Omni-Man lay embedded in the ground, breathing. Barely. Vegeta stood over him, aura humming quietly now. "You are strong," Vegeta admitted. Omni-Man coughed blood, laughing weakly. "And you?" "Hesitate." Vegeta's eyes narrowed. From behind them, green light flickered again. Angstrom Levy hovered above the battlefield, smiling despite the devastation. "You were distracted," Angstrom said softly. Behind him, a portal expanded, larger than any before. Not filled with invincibles, filled with something darker. A shadowed world, a red sky, a civilization of Viltrumites, thousands strong. Purebloods, not variants. An entire empire. Mark's heart stopped. Angstrom's voice echoed across the broken city. "Let's escalate." Vegeta slowly looked up. His aura began rising again. Omni-Man, still embedded in the crater, began to laugh harder despite his broken ribs. "You wanted a war," he wheezed. The first wave of pure Viltrumites stepped through the portal, and the sky turned red. The sky didn't just turn red, it bled. A crimson storm churned above the ruins of Chicago as the massive portal widened like a wound in reality. Through it stepped ranks of pure-blood Viltrumites, armor darker, expressions colder, movements disciplined. Not variants, not copies. An empire. At the center of the formation hovered a tall, silver-haired figure with a cape that barely moved despite the hurricane winds spiraling around the portal. Thrag had arrived. His eyes locked instantly onto Vegeta. Assessment. Calculation. Threat. Below them, the battered body of Omni-Man pushed himself up from the crater, ribs audibly shifting back into place. He looked up at Thrag, and for the first time since his arrival, Omni-Man's confidence flickered. "Grand Regent," Omni-Man muttered. Thrag didn't look at him. His gaze never left Vegeta. "You've killed thousands of my soldiers," Thrag said calmly, voice carrying effortlessly across the battlefield. "You fight with refinement, control, pride." Vegeta hovered silently, blue aura flickering in tight arcs around him. Thrag's eyes narrowed slightly. "You are not Viltrumite." "No," Vegeta replied flatly. "I am far worse." The air detonated. Thrag moved first. He crossed the distance instantly, fist driving toward Vegeta's face with force capable of splitting continents. Vegeta's body shifted on instinct alone, head tilting a fraction as the punch grazed past, close enough to shear away a strand of hair. Vegeta countered with a knee to Thrag's abdomen. The impact created a concussive blast that flattened the nearest Viltrumite ranks and sent shockwaves racing outward across the Midwest. Thrag didn't flinch. He caught Vegeta's leg mid-strike and squeezed. The pressure buckled the ground below them. Vegeta's eyes sharpened. Thrag twisted and hurled him across the city. Vegeta smashed through layers of ruined skyscrapers, vanishing in a storm of collapsing steel. Before the dust settled, Thrag was already moving, descending like an executioner. Vegeta erupted from the rubble in a streak of blue light, slamming shoulder first into Thrag's chest. They shot upward together, breaking the cloud layer in an explosion of vapor. Above the planet, fists began to blur. This wasn't like Omni-Man. This was precision brutality. Thrag blocked, parried, countered, every strike aimed for vital points, throat, liver, spine. He adapted instantly to Vegeta's speed, predicting angle, adjusting mid-motion. Vegeta felt it. Finally, a warrior. Thrag's elbow slammed into Vegeta's jaw. The crack echoed into orbit. Vegeta retaliated with a rapid barrage of strikes, each hit landing like controlled nuclear detonations. Thrag absorbed them, sliding backward through vacuum before locking both hands onto Vegeta's wrists. They strained against each other, muscle trembling, energy flaring. The earth below began to tremble again from the pressure alone. "You rely on power," Thrag said coldly. "We rely on inevitability." He headbutted Vegeta. The impact created a silent explosion in space, sending fragments of rock and satellite debris spiraling. Vegeta's aura flickered. For the first time, it wavered. On Earth, Mark Grayson stared upward in disbelief. "He's pushing him back." Atom Eve clenched her fists. "That Viltrumite is different." Below, ranks of Viltrumites began descending toward the planet's surface, preparing systematic conquest. Omni-Man rose into the air slowly, torn between pride and fear. Above, Thrag drove Vegeta downward at hypersonic speed. They slammed into Lake Michigan, displacing trillions of gallons of water in a towering explosion. Steam engulfed the battlefield. Underwater, visibility zero. Thrag's fist drove into Vegeta's ribs. Another. Each blow creating shockwaves that churned the entire lake into violent spirals. Vegeta grabbed Thrag's forearm and twisted, driving his own forehead into Thrag's face. Blood spiraled into the water. They burst from the lake's surface in a violent geyser. Thrag immediately grabbed Vegeta by the throat and launched upward again, this time not stopping at orbit. They tore past satellites, past debris, toward the thinning edge of Earth's gravity. Thrag accelerated harder. He was taking this fight away from the planet. Smart. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. "Running?" he growled. "Strategizing," Thrag replied. They reached the edge of space. Then Thrag abruptly reversed direction, driving both of them back down like a meteor aimed straight at Chicago. The re-entry burned the sky red. They hit with apocalyptic force. The impact created a crater so massive it swallowed entire districts. Viltrumites below paused their invasion to watch. Thrag rose first from the smoke, breathing controlled but heavier now. Vegeta emerged seconds later, bruised, bleeding from the forehead, but smiling. "Good," Vegeta said quietly. His aura began to change. Blue deepened. Lightning intensified. The air warped violently around him. Thrag felt it immediately. Instinct screamed. Vegeta closed his eyes. Just for a moment. When they opened, there was no hesitation left. His aura sharpened into something colder, cleaner, more precise. Movement without wasted motion. Not full Ultra Instinct, but something honed by Saiyan pride and divine training. Thrag attacked again. This time, he missed. Vegeta sidestepped without looking. A palm strike landed against Thrag's chest with microscopic precision, disrupting muscle alignment and internal balance. Thrag staggered half a step. Half a step too many. Vegeta vanished and reappeared behind him, elbows smashing into Thrag's spine. Bone cracked. Thrag roared, spinning with a retaliatory punch. Vegeta ducked under it effortlessly and drove a kick into Thrag's jaw that sent the Grand Regent skidding miles across the crater. Viltrumites below looked upward in disbelief. Thrag rose again, but slower. Vegeta hovered above him, aura now roaring like a contained supernova. "You speak of inevitability," Vegeta said calmly, "but evolution favors those who surpass limits." He extended one hand. Energy gathered, not wildly, perfectly condensed. A sphere of blue-white light formed, denser than anything before. Thrag steadied himself, eyes burning. He charged forward one last time. Vegeta fired. The blast struck Thrag mid-charge. The explosion didn't expand outward violently. It compressed inward, a contained star detonating in silence. Shockwaves rippled across the planet in smooth rings. When the light faded, Thrag lay broken at the center of the crater, armor vaporized, chest barely rising. The Viltrumite ranks froze. Their empire's symbol, defeated. Vegeta lowered his hand slowly. His aura dimmed slightly. Then, green light flared again. Above them, Angstrom Levy screamed in fury. "You were never supposed to win!" Reality fractured violently around him. Portals didn't open this time. They collapsed inward. The sky began tearing apart entirely. Dimensions overlapping. Worlds bleeding into one another. Gravity shifted sideways. Buildings that remained began floating upward into the green void. Mark looked up in horror. "He's destabilizing everything." Angstrom's body began glowing uncontrollably, energy spiraling beyond his control. "If I can't control the war," he screamed, "I'll erase it." The portal above expanded into a swirling vortex, pulling the planet upward. Continents began lifting. Oceans spiraled toward the sky. Vegeta looked up at the collapsing multiverse. His expression changed. Not anger. Focus. Behind him, Thrag coughed weakly. The Viltrumite army hesitated. Mark and Eve struggled against the shifting gravity as Earth itself began tearing free from orbit. Angstrom's laughter echoed through the collapsing sky. "Let's see you shut this down, Saiyan." The vortex expanded and swallowed the sun. Darkness began creeping across the planet. Vegeta's aura flared brighter than ever before, and he looked upward into the dying heaven. Darkness didn't fall. It was ripped across the sky. The sun flickered like a dying ember as the vortex above the planet swallowed its light. Oceans spiraled upward in titanic columns, entire coastlines tearing free as gravity bent sideways. Continents groaned. The atmosphere screamed as it was pulled toward the widening green singularity. At the center of it all, suspended in spiraling dimensional fractures, Angstrom Levy convulsed with unstable power. His body glowed neon green, veins pulsing across his enlarged brain as portals collapsed inward, stacking universes on top of each other. Reality was folding. Below, Mark Grayson fought to stay airborne as chunks of Chicago lifted into the sky like debris in a hurricane. "He's tearing space-time apart," Mark shouted. Atom Eve stretched both hands outward, pink energy straining as she tried to stabilize crumbling structures. "I can't hold the planet together." Viltrumites were being dragged upward helplessly, even the injured form of Thrag skidding across shattered Earth toward the vortex. Omni-Man hovered in midair, caught between fury and dawning realization. And above them all, Vegeta floated in absolute stillness. His aura had gone quiet. Not gone. Compressed. The blue flame around him drew inward until it clung tightly to his body like a second skin. Lightning faded. The roar became a low hum. He wasn't escalating recklessly. He was calculating. The vortex above expanded further, swallowing starlight. Through its churning surface, broken images of other universes flickered, cities burning, Viltrumite fleets conquering, dead worlds drifting in silence. Angstrom screamed, voice layered across dimensions. "I will erase this timeline. You don't belong here." Vegeta looked up slowly. "You're right," he said calmly. Then he vanished. Not a blur. Not a streak. Gone. He reappeared inside the vortex. Instantly, gravity twisted around him. Entire dimensions collided in shards of green lightning. Angstrom's power lashed out violently, trying to tear Vegeta apart molecule by molecule. Vegeta didn't shield. He moved. Every step was precise. Every shift of his body avoided collapsing fragments of space itself. Broken realities sliced past him like glass storms. Angstrom hurled a sphere of compressed dimensional energy. Vegeta deflected it with the back of his hand. The redirected blast erased a fractured moon in the distance. "You think strength solves everything?" Angstrom shrieked. "I command infinite worlds." Vegeta appeared directly in front of him. "No," he replied softly. "You command chaos." Angstrom unleashed a barrage, dozens of portal shards slamming into Vegeta from every angle, each one capable of displacing matter into another universe. Vegeta weaved between them with terrifying calm. A fist snapped forward and connected with Angstrom's jaw. The impact rippled through every open portal at once. Green fractures splintered. Angstrom reeled backward, clutching his face. "Impossible!" Vegeta grabbed him by the collar and hurled him deeper into the vortex core. They crashed through layered dimensions, alien skies, burning planets, silent voids, before slamming into the heart of the distortion. At the core was a singularity of overlapping universes, spiraling faster by the second. If it collapsed, everything connected would be erased. Angstrom staggered to his feet, body flickering between realities. "You can't stop this, it's beyond you." Vegeta rose slowly. For a moment, his eyes closed. He exhaled once, then his aura shifted. Blue dissolved into something sharper. A silver outline traced his form. His movements became impossibly fluid, every muscle aligned with perfect instinct. Not rage, not pride. Clarity. A state brushing against ultra instinct, but fueled by Saiyan will rather than divine serenity. The vortex slowed slightly. Angstrom lunged desperately, summoning every remaining portal into a concentrated blast aimed at Vegeta's chest. Vegeta stepped forward. Through it. The energy parted around him as if reality itself refused to touch him. He placed 2 fingers against Angstrom's forehead. Silence fell. "You wanted infinity," Vegeta said quietly. A pulse erupted, not outward. Inward. The singularity compressed violently, dimensional layers folding back into place like shattered glass repairing itself. Portals snapped shut one after another in cascading bursts of green light. Angstrom screamed as the unstable power was forced back into him. The vortex shrank rapidly. On Earth, gravity stabilized. Oceans crashed back into their basins, continents slammed into place. The sun flared back to life as darkness receded. Mark gasped as the sky cleared. Eve fell to her knees in relief. Viltrumites plummeted back to the ground, stunned and disoriented. High above, the collapsing singularity imploded into a single point of blinding light and vanished. Silence. Angstrom floated in empty sky, body scorched, power extinguished. His portals were gone, his control shattered. Vegeta released him. Angstrom began falling, down, through the atmosphere, toward the ruined crater below. Vegeta followed, but slower. They hit the ground almost simultaneously. Angstrom crashed first, barely conscious. Vegeta landed upright. The remaining Viltrumites stared in stunned disbelief. Thrag, still barely alive, struggled to rise again, but his strength was spent. Omni-Man hovered uncertainly. Mark approached cautiously, eyes wide. You fixed it," Mark said. Vegeta didn't look at him. Angstrom coughed weakly from the crater floor. "You don't understand. This war happens in countless worlds." Vegeta stepped closer.
"I don't care." He raised his hand. Energy gathered one last time. Angstrom's eyes widened, but there was no screen this time. Just a flash of blue light. When it faded, Angstrom Levy was gone. erased. The sky was clear. The Viltrumite army, leaderless, shaken, hesitated. Thrag attempted to stand once more. Vegeta turned toward him. Their eyes met. Thrag understood. This wasn't defeat. It was extinction. Vegeta's aura flared briefly, just enough. The remaining Viltrumites retreated. Not in panic, in survival. One by one, they shot into the sky, abandoning the battlefield. Silence finally settled over Earth. Wind moved gently through broken steel. Smoke drifted upward lazily. Mark stared at Vegeta in awe. "Why help us?" Vegeta looked toward the horizon. "I didn't." He began ascending slowly. "This war bored me." Mark frowned. "That's it?" Vegeta paused midair. A faint smirk touched his face. "Train harder," he said without turning around. "If your species survives long enough, perhaps one day you'll be worth fighting." And then he vanished into the upper atmosphere, gone as suddenly as he arrived. Below, the planet began the slow process of healing. Thrag lay unconscious but alive, defeated. Omni-Man watched the sky thoughtfully. Mark clenched his fists. Somewhere beyond the stars, Vegeta drifted through space alone. But far in the distance, a new ripple trembled across the fabric of reality. Not green, not Viltrumite, something older, watching and interested. Vegeta stopped mid-flight. His eyes narrowed slightly. Tsh! A presence vast enough to dwarf galaxies shifted in the darkness beyond, and it had felt everything.
Space was silent, but it wasn't empty. Far beyond the orbit of Earth, beyond even the distant shimmer of neighboring systems, something vast stirred in the folds between galaxies. Not a ship, not an army. A presence. Ancient. Curious. And amused. Vegeta drifted in the void, arms folded across his chest, boots planted against nothing. The stars reflected faintly in his eyes as the last echoes of the Invincible War faded behind him. He felt it again. That ripple. It wasn't violent like Angstrom's portals. It was controlled, measured, like a hand gently pressing against reality to test its strength. Vegeta exhaled slowly. "So," he muttered. "Another coward, hiding in the dark." The void answered. It cracked. Not explosively, quietly. A thin fracture of golden light stretched across the fabric of space itself. The stars bent inward toward it, as if gravity had been rewritten. From within that fracture stepped a slender figure in ornate robes, skin pale violet, movements graceful and impossibly calm. Beerus yawned. Behind him hovered Whis, staff glowing softly, expression serene. Vegeta froze for half a second, then scowled. "Lord Beerus." Beerus stretched lazily, glancing around the unfamiliar universe. Different dimensional frequency, primitive stellar development, and yet his golden eyes slid toward Earth in the distance. "Such noisy destruction." Whis smiled gently. "We did detect quite an entertaining spike of energy, didn't we?" Beerus's gaze settled fully on Vegeta. "You," he said flatly. "What exactly were you doing?" Vegeta's jaw tightened. "Cleaning up a mess." Beerus floated closer, sniffing the air as if evaluating a dish. "You tore open dimensional barriers. You destabilized universal constants. You forced me to pay attention." His tone shifted, and the temperature of space dropped. Vegeta held his ground. "It's handled." Beerus's tail flicked lazily. "That is not the point." In an instant, Beerus vanished. He reappeared directly in front of Vegeta and flicked him on the forehead. The impact detonated like a supernova. Vegeta's body rocketed backward through space, smashing through an asteroid belt in a storm of debris before regaining control. He stopped himself, breathing harder. Beerus hadn't even tried. was drifted nearby, observing like a teacher watching a student make mistakes. Beerus floated forward slowly. You interfered with dimensional collapse without authorization. Vegeta wiped blood from his lip. It would have erased the planet. Beerus shrugged. Planets are replaceable. Vegeta's aura flared instinctively. Blue lightning danced along his frame. Beerus's eyes sharpened slightly. Oh, you'd like to try? The void trembled. Vegeta knew better. But Saiyan pride was not easily silenced. I won't let you destroy it. Beerus blinked once. Then smiled faintly. Oh, and why is that? Vegeta hesitated. A flicker of memory, Earth's skyline stabilizing, Mark staring in disbelief, the planet spared from annihilation. Beerus noticed the pause. Interesting, the god of destruction murmured. Without warning, Beerus attacked. Not with rage, with elegance. His palm struck Vegeta's guard and passed through it effortlessly, tapping his chest. The contact alone sent shockwaves rippling across nearby stars, dimming their light momentarily. Vegeta retaliated instantly, launching a rapid barrage of blows in Super Saiyan Blue. Beerus dodged every single one with lazy precision, hands clasped behind his back half the time. Sloppy, Beerus commented mid-dodge. Vegeta roared and vanished, reappearing above Beerus with a downward axe kick. Beerus raised one finger. The kick stopped against it. Completely. Shockwaves spiraled outward, distorting constellations. Beerus flicked upward. Vegeta was launched higher into the void. He flipped mid-air, stabilized, and powered up further, blue aura condensing, movement sharpening. He attacked again, this time faster. Sharper, almost instinctive. Beerus's expression shifted ever so slightly. He dodged, but this time barely. Vegeta's fist grazed his cheek. A faint line appeared. Silence. Whis' eyes widened just a fraction. Beerus touched the line on his face, then laughed softly. Well now. The atmosphere of space tightened. This time when Beerus moved, it wasn't playful. He appeared behind Vegeta and struck his back with an open palm. The impact folded space inward like fabric. Vegeta's scream echoed as he was driven downward toward Earth at unimaginable speed. He crashed into the upper atmosphere in a blazing inferno, slamming into the Pacific Ocean with force that displaced entire currents. Mark, hovering above recovering cities, looked up as the sky ignited again. What now? A column of steam erupted from the ocean as Vegeta rose once more, battered but conscious. Beerus descended slowly behind him. You've improved, Beerus admitted, but you are still reckless. Vegeta clenched his fists. I protected that world. Beerus tilted his head. And in doing so, you destabilized another. Balance matters, Saiyan. Whis tapped his staff gently. Ripples spread outward, revealing faint fractures still lingering between universes, the scars left by Angstrom's collapse. Beerus gestured lazily toward them. Those will attract attention? As if summoned by the words. A shadow moved within one of the fractures. Not Viltrumite, not dimensional, cosmic. A silhouette, vast and armored, eyes glowing like dying stars. It watched. Even Beerus's smile faded slightly. Well, he muttered, that's inconvenient. Vegeta turned toward the fracture. You felt that too. Beerus's tail flicked once. Yes. The fracture widened slightly,
revealing a glimpse of a world consumed in cosmic ruin, planets hollowed out, galaxies dimmed. Something had noticed the power spike of the Invincible War, and it was coming. Whis' voice remained calm. It appears, Lord Beerus, that our dimensional neighbors have predators. The silhouette shifted closer to the tear. Its gaze locked onto Earth. Mark felt it from the surface. Eve shivered, Omni-Man looked toward the sky grimly. Beerus crossed his arms. "This," he said quietly, "is why I dislike unnecessary interference." Vegeta's aura flared once more, not with pride this time, with readiness. The fracture began expanding again, and from within it, something colossal started forcing its way through. The fracture did not widen, it peeled open. Space tore apart like fabric dragged across claws too large to comprehend. Stars bent away from the expanding rift. Light itself warped inward as if afraid. From within the tear emerged a shape that dwarfed planets. Armor layered in obsidian plates, veins of crimson energy pulsing beneath its surface, eyes like collapsed suns. It did not step through the rift. It pressed through it. Reality groaned under the strain. On Earth, every Viltrumite froze mid-flight. Mark Grayson felt his lungs tighten. Atom Eve's energy flickered unstable around her hands. Even the injured Thrag lifted his head slowly, eyes narrowing. Above the planet, Beerus's expression shifted from irritation to focus. "Well," he muttered, "that's not local." Beside him, Whis observed calmly, though his staff glowed brighter, an extra-dimensional devourer, perhaps drawn by instability. The creature forced its upper torso through the fracture. Galaxies flickered within the cracks along its armor, as if entire star systems had been consumed and sealed beneath its skin. It turned its head slowly and looked directly at Earth. Vegeta felt the gaze hit like gravitational collapse. Not rage, not conquest. Hunger. The creature opened its mouth. Inside it there were no teeth, only a spiraling void, and that void began pulling. The planet shifted in orbit. Oceans rose again. Mark shot upward instinctively. "It's dragging the Earth." Beerus lifted one finger. The pull paused instantly. Space stabilized around the planet in a spherical barrier of divine energy. The creature's eyes narrowed slightly. It noticed the resistance. Vegeta stepped forward, aura flaring blue against the black of space. "You attracted it," Beerus said calmly without looking at him. Vegeta didn't respond. He was already moving. He shot forward like a comet, Super Saiyan blue igniting brighter as he closed the distance between himself and the cosmic entity. The creature extended one massive hand. Each finger longer than a continent. It swiped. Vegeta dodged, but barely. The edge of the swipe clipped his aura and tore through it, sending him spiraling sideways through space. He stabilized instantly and countered, condensing a sphere of blue energy in his palm. Final flash! The beam erupted forward, carving through the void in a concentrated line of annihilation. It struck the creature's chest. The explosion lit up half the solar system. When the light faded, a scorch mark remained. Only a scorch mark. The creature tilted its head. Unimpressed, it responded by opening its palm. A sphere of red-black energy condensed, not chaotic like Angstrom's portals, but gravitational, crushing. It fired. Vegeta crossed his arms to block. The blast hit. Space folded inward around him like a collapsing star. He roared as the pressure crushed against his body, bones straining under cosmic force. Beerus stepped forward. "Enough!" He flicked his wrist.
The red-black sphere disintegrated instantly under Hakai energy, erased from existence. The creature paused again. Now it had 2 points of interest. Beerus floated forward lazily, though his eyes were sharp now. "You are not of this macrocosm." The creature responded, not with words, but with a pulse. A wave of gravitational distortion blasted outward from its body, slamming into Beerus directly. For the first time, Beerus slid backward in space. Whis' eyes widened slightly. "Ah," Whis murmured, "it can adapt to divine energy signatures." The creature moved again, forcing more of its body through the fracture. Its lower half remained tangled in the tear between universes, but even partially manifested, it was larger than Earth. On the surface, Omni-Man stared upward. "We can't fight that," he muttered. Thrag, bleeding but conscious, clenched his fists. "Then we die standing." Mark looked between them. For once, Viltrumites and heroes were silent together. Above, Vegeta wiped blood from his mouth and powered up again. Blue aura intensified. Lightning cracked outward violently. Beerus glanced sideways at him. "Don't be foolish." Vegeta smirked faintly. "I'm not the one who let it in." Beerus's tail flicked. "Very well." His aura ignited purple. The void trembled as God of Destruction energy flared outward like a silent inferno. Beerus vanished. He reappeared directly in front of the creature's face and drove a punch into its armored jaw. The impact sent shockwaves rippling across galaxies. Stars flickered in distant systems. The creature reeled slightly, then retaliated with blinding speed. Its clawed hand struck Beerus across the torso. The hit tore open spatial rifts across the battlefield. Beerus flipped backward but stabilized mid-spin. Vegeta attacked simultaneously from the opposite side, slamming a flurry of blue-infused strikes into the creature's rib plating. This time, cracks formed, thin but real. The creature roared. The sound wasn't audible. It was felt. On Earth, every being dropped to one knee as a vibration passed through the planet's core. Whiz extended his staff, projecting a stabilizing field around the solar system. "Do be careful, Lord Beerus." Beerus smirked faintly. "I am always careful." He extended his palm. Purple Hakai energy gathered, dense and swirling. Vegeta saw it, understood instantly. He rocketed upward, charging energy simultaneously. Blue and purple converged in the void. The creature sensed the threat. It began pulling harder from the fracture, trying to fully enter this universe. The tear widened dangerously. Entire constellations flickered unstable. Beerus and Vegeta attacked together. Hakai energy collided with a Super Saiyan blue final flash at point-blank range against the creature's chest. The explosion that followed outshone the sun. The shockwave rippled across light years. When the glare faded, the creature's upper torso was cracked heavily, pieces of cosmic armor floating off into space. It shrieked again, and then did something unexpected. It began retreating, not defeated, calculating. Its body pulled backward through the fracture slowly, eyes never leaving Beerus, then shifting to Vegeta. It had learned. It would return. The tear began sealing behind it. Beerus lowered his hand slowly. Vegeta remained hovering, breathing hard. The fracture shrank, then snapped shut. Silence returned to the void. Stars stabilized. Gravity normalized. On Earth, Mark exhaled shakily. Beerus glanced sideways at Vegeta. "You see," he said calmly, "you attract interesting problems." Vegeta crossed his arms. "I handled the last one." Beerus smirked. "Yes." He turned his gaze toward the sealed fracture. But this one was only curious, was floated gently between them. And curiosity often becomes obsession. Far beyond their universe, on the other side of the sealed tear, the cosmic entity reformed fully in its own dimension. Its cracks began healing, and its eyes glowed brighter than before. It had tasted resistance, and it wanted more. Back near Earth, Vegeta stared into deep space. His aura flickered faintly. He could feel it still, watching, waiting, and this time, it wasn't alone. The universe didn't return to normal. It held its breath. Far beyond the solar system in the scar where the fracture had sealed, faint distortions still shimmered like heat above asphalt, invisible to mortals, not invisible to gods. Vegeta hovered in silence, arms crossed, eyes locked on that distant scar. His armor was cracked, blood dried along his jaw, but his posture hadn't changed. He wasn't tired. He was thinking. Beside him, Beerus yawned lightly, though his golden eyes never left the same point in space. It retreated faster than expected. We tapped his staff gently. A ripple of light expanded outward, revealing something unsettling. Multiple distortions. Not one, not two, dozens. Small, growing. Wiss's smile didn't fade, but it thinned. It appears your earlier dimensional collapse acted as a beacon. Below them, Earth glowed quietly in the distance. On the surface, Mark Grayson stood on a broken rooftop staring upward. He couldn't see the distortions, but he felt something pressing against the sky. Omni-Man hovered nearby, silent. Thrag stood bloodied but upright, staring at the heavens with narrowed eyes. For the first time, Viltrumite arrogance had shifted into something else. Caution. Back in orbit, Vegeta spoke without looking at Beerus. It wasn't alone. Beerus's tail flicked. No. One of the distant distortions pulsed brighter. And then it opened. Not as violently as before. Smooth. Controlled. From within emerged something smaller than the previous devourer, but sharper. Humanoid in silhouette. Armor black as void. Energy lines glowing violet along its limbs. It stepped into this universe calmly. No roaring. No hunger display. Just presence. Vegeta's aura flared instantly blue. Beerus narrowed his eyes. "Ah," he murmured, "a scout." The being tilted its head at them. Its eyes glowed white. Then it vanished. It didn't charge. It simply blinked out of sight. Wiss's staff shimmered. "Behind you, Lord Beerus." Beerus turned. Just in time to block a strike aimed at his temple. The collision shattered nearby asteroids into dust. The being reappeared mid-strike. Movements fluid and efficient. It wasn't brute force like the Devourer. It was surgical. Beerus countered with a swift kick, sending it spinning backward, but the being twisted mid-air, regaining balance instantly. It was learning. Fast. Vegeta attacked from the side, fist wrapped in condensed blue energy. The punch connected, and the being slid backward only a few meters. It looked down at the cracked armor where Vegeta struck, then back at him. Its aura shifted slightly, adapting frequency. Vegeta's eyes sharpened. "Oh?" The being extended one hand. Purple energy formed, eerily similar to Hakai. Beerus's expression darkened. "That is not yours to wield." The being fired. Beerus erased the blast mid-flight, but a fragment of the energy grazed his shoulder. For the first time, a thin line of destruction energy ate at Beerus's sleeve. Whis intervened instantly, tapping the fragment away with his staff before it could spread. "Now that," Whis said softly, "is problematic." The being observed, analyzed. It wasn't attacking wildly. It was studying divine energy patterns. Below, Earth's orbit trembled again as more distortions flickered open. Mark felt it this time. Multiple presences. He looked at Omni-Man. "They're coming back." Omni-Man nodded grimly. "And stronger." Thrag stepped forward. "Then we prepare." In space, Vegeta powered up further, blue aura intensifying into something sharper, lightning snapping violently outward. The scout shifted stance, then split. 2 identical copies appeared beside it, then 4, each radiating similar adaptive energy. Beerus sighed. "I am starting to miss the simplicity of destruction." Vegeta smirked faintly. "Then destroy." Beerus's aura ignited purple once more, thicker than before. The battlefield exploded into motion. Vegeta blurred between copies, striking at impossible angles. Each hit cracked armor, but each copy adjusted its defense pattern after impact. One grabbed Vegeta's wrist mid-strike and twisted, nearly dislocating it before he countered with a knee to the torso. Another copy attacked Beerus simultaneously, landing a grazing strike across his side before being erased in a pulse of Hakai. But when erased, the energy didn't vanish fully. It streamed back toward the remaining copies. Absorbed, Beerus's eyes widened slightly. "They are sharing data," was nodded calmly. "And distributing resistance." More distortions open. Additional scouts began emerging from separate fractures. Not dozens, hundreds. Each one humanoid, each one glowing with faint violet adaptation energy. The first devourer hadn't been the invasion. It had been the test. Vegeta hovered, breathing controlled. "This is escalating." Beerus glanced at him sideways. "You wanted worthy opponents." A wave of scouts charged simultaneously. The sky filled with streaks of violet and blue. Vegeta unleashed a massive burst of energy, vaporizing several at once, but their fragments streamed back into the others again, strengthening them. Beerus erased clusters with Hakai, but the same phenomenon occurred, distributed resistance. They were evolving mid-battle. On Earth, Mark shot upward despite Omni-Man's warning. "We can't just watch." Eve followed, pink energy blazing. Viltrumites rose as well, Thrag included, wounded but unyielding. For the first time in history, Viltrumites and Earth's defenders ascended together toward a cosmic war. Beerus noticed. "Shh, mortals." Vegeta looked down briefly, then back at the swarm multiplying in space. His aura shifted again, deeper concentration, movements sharpening toward that silver edge precision he had brushed before. "If they adapt," Vegeta muttered, "then I'll evolve faster." More fractures tore open behind the swarm, and from within one, a larger silhouette began stepping through, not as massive as the devourer, but armored differently, crowned, commanding. The scouts immediately shifted formation around it. Even Beerus stopped smiling. The crowned entity emerged fully into space, violet aura radiating like a distorted halo. It looked at Beerus, then at Vegeta, and finally at Earth. Its voice echoed, not through air, through thought. "Resistance confirmed, divine presence detected, planetary assimilation authorized." Vegeta's fists tightened. Beerus's aura flared. Behind them, Earth's heroes arrived into orbit, dwarfed by what they were facing, and the crowned entity raised its hand. The entire swarm surged forward at once. The void shattered, not with a sound, but with a pressure so immense it made distant stars shiver. Thousands of scouts, each adaptive, multiplied as they surged through space, encircling Earth like a predatory storm. Each movement calculated, each strike capable of erasing planets. The crowned entity hovered at the center, a figure regal, terrifying, its violet energy a swirling storm of dominion. A crown of jagged energy floated above its head, glowing as if drawing life from the entire universe. Every scout instantly oriented toward it, forming a perfect formation of lethal efficiency. Vegeta floated in the forefront, blue aura flaring, his eyes sharp, calculating every angle. Lightning cracked across his body as his energy roared outward, colliding with the scouts in bursts of concentrated force. Each strike shattered a scout, but the fragments didn't vanish. They folded into the others, strengthening the swarm. Beerus hovered beside him, tail flicking, purple Hakai energy radiating in waves. "Impressive," he said dryly, "but you forget these mortals can only hold for so long." Whiz's staff glowed brighter. "Lord Beerus, they are learning faster than we anticipated. Every adaptation they experience is instantaneously shared among all units. Vegeta narrowed his eyes. Then I'll out-evolve them faster. The first clash erupted. Blue energy streaked across the void as Vegeta struck scout after scout, each hit precise, targeting weak points. Sparks of adaptive energy exploded outward, consumed partially by his aura. Yet, for every scout destroyed, another one's movement shifted in response, dodging where it would have been struck before. Beerus moved with terrifying speed, erasing clusters of scouts with Hakai. But the swarm adjusted instantly, splitting into smaller units, circling around him like a living storm. Even the god of destruction's patience was tested. From the fractures above, new rifts opened, smaller but multiplying rapidly. Violet tendrils of energy snaked outward, and more scouts emerged, each more refined than the last. Their collective awareness stretched across the battlefield, as if guided by one mind, the crowned entity. Vegeta's aura flared, blue deepening into a near-white intensity. He darted forward, striking in multiple simultaneous trajectories. Moving so fast, he appeared in multiple positions at once. A scout lunged from above, one from below, yet he countered each with precision, leaving shards of broken armor floating in zero gravity. The crowned entity observed, silent, radiating a pressure so vast that the void itself seemed to bend around it. A pulse emanated, not destructive, but probing. It sent a ripple through Vegeta's aura, testing, calculating, measuring his evolution. Vegeta's teeth gritted. His fists crackled. "I will not be measured." With a roar, he surged forward, energy compressing into a single, lethal point. He struck the crowned entity directly, not reckless, but calculated. The force alone tore a tear in the surrounding space, sending scouts tumbling backward. But the crowned entity absorbed the impact without flinching. Its crown glowed brighter, eyes burning with recognition. Then it spoke, not aloud, but within their minds. "Impressive. Saiyan, you adapt, you evolve, but evolution has a cost. Every strike you deliver feeds the hive. Every adaptation strengthens the collective." Vegeta's aura surged uncontrollably, blue and white energy colliding violently. Sparks of electricity lanced outward, illuminating fragments of distant planets and shattered asteroids. Beerus sighed, tail flicking. "I suppose you didn't consult me before interfering?" Vegeta ignored him, his eyes locked on the crowned entity. "Then I'll do what's necessary." The first scout army lunged as one, every fist, every strike perfectly calculated. Each one capable of annihilating an Earth-sized planet. Vegeta countered, speed blending with instinct. Every attack he launched, palm, punch, kick, broke and shredded, yet the swarm adapted immediately. Was observed calmly, though a faint crease appeared on his brow. "They are becoming a unified consciousness. Lord Beerus, I fear direct engagement may escalate too quickly." Beerus's purple aura flared. Too late for fear. In the void, Vegeta's fists glowed brighter, each strike releasing energy compressed into surgical precision. Every blow cracked the scout's armor. Every blast of his aura vaporized adaptive fragments. But the crowned entity moved, unhurried, orchestrating the swarm like a conductor. Violet energy lines surged through space, connecting each scout to its source. Their movements became synchronized, anticipating Vegeta's attacks before they occurred. Vegeta paused for a heartbeat. His aura flickered, lightning lancing across his arms. He smirked faintly. So be it. He vanished. Not as a blur, not a streak. He fractured reality around him, appearing simultaneously at multiple points, striking with a precision beyond the scout's collective calculation. Each punch, each kick, each blast tore apart adaptive connections, forcing the swarm to recalibrate mid-air. The crowned entity's eyes narrowed. The hive responded. Scouts surged, converging on Vegeta's multiple positions, yet each attack he countered flawlessly, forcing fractures in their formation. Beerus raised a single hand, purple energy radiating outward. Her Kai pulses cut through dozens of scouts, disintegrating them completely, but the swarm continued, feeding on every destroyed fragment, becoming stronger. Vegeta's aura blazed brighter. White and blue arcs lanced outward violently, the void itself rippling with the force of his evolution. The crowned entity tilted its head, as if entertained. It raised both arms. Purple energy lines surged outward from its crown, latching onto the void itself, beginning to reshape reality around the battlefield. Mark, hovering above Earth, gasped, "It's manipulating space itself." Thrag muttered, fists clenched, watching from orbit. "It adapts everything we do. It becomes stronger." Vegeta's eyes narrowed. "Then I'll surpass it." He charged, faster than ever. Lightning arcs exploded, aura flaring violently. Every strike not only shattered scouts, but began targeting the crowned entity itself. The entity shifted, deflecting some attacks, absorbing others, but it was reacting, for the first time, not completely calm. Beerus crossed his arms. "Now this is interesting." The battlefield of space exploded into pure energy. Scouts, heroes, Viltrumites, gods, all engaged in a battle for survival and supremacy across multiple dimensions at once. And at the center, the crowned entity's eyes glowed with recognition. Vegeta was no longer just a warrior. He was a variable. A factor the entity could not fully anticipate. And that would make all the difference. The void erupted in chaos. The crowned entity's violet aura expanded, consuming light and bending the very fabric of space. Scouts surged around it, adaptive energy lancing outward like shards of shattered reality. Every move was calculated, every strike synchronized. It was no longer a battle, it was a test of survival against an intelligence beyond comprehension. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, blue aura blazing, lightning arcing violently around him. His fists moved almost independently, a blur of precision strikes that shattered armor, vaporized fragments, and tore through energy shields. Every punch, every kick, every energy blast was measured, deliberate, and instantaneous. Yet, no matter how many scouts he destroyed, more adapted. They evolved. Their armor reformed stronger, their strikes sharper, their predictive patterns nearly flawless. Vegeta felt it, the hive mind adjusting faster than he anticipated, analyzing his every technique, mimicking his movements, preempting his attacks. Beerus hovered beside him, purple aura radiating, tail flicking with impatience. "Impressive," he said calmly, "but mortal persistence only delays the inevitable." Was observed silently, staff glowing. "Lord Beerus, even with divine intervention they continue adapting exponentially. The crowned entity's influence is unlike anything we've faced." Vegeta clenched his teeth, energy flaring brighter, lightning snapping violently. "Then I'll force it to adapt faster than it can handle." He surged forward, blue-white aura exploding outward. Energy compressed in his fists, elbows, knees, every strike precise. He attacked not just the scouts, but the crowned entity itself, landing blows that made shards of the void crumble like fragile crystal. The crowned entity responded, raising its arms. Purple energy lines lanced outward, enveloping the battlefield. Every strike Vegeta made was met with instantaneous countermeasures. The swarm shifted, reorganized, and multiplied mid-strike. Vegeta's aura deepened further. White energy now merged with blue, moving in jagged arcs of pure force. "I'll show you," he growled, teeth bared, "why evolution favors those who surpass limits." He vanished, instantly reappearing behind multiple scouts, striking simultaneously, breaking their coordination. He spun, unleashed a flurry of attacks at the crowned entity, targeting its armor joints, its crown, its eyes. Each blow hit with precision, tearing apart connections within the swarm. The crowned entity's head tilted. A faint ripple passed through its aura. It wasn't panicking, it was calculating faster now. The scouts surged toward Vegeta with renewed synchronization, attacks coming from every angle, multiple trajectories converging in perfect timing. Vegeta's aura erupted like a compressed supernova. Energy spiraled around him, arcs of electricity snapping outward, consuming scouts before they could strike. His movements were no longer reactive, they were predictive, anticipating adaptations before they occurred. Every step, every strike, every Kai blast was a counter to the entity's collective intelligence. Beerus raised a hand. Purple Hakai energy expanded outward, erasing swathes of scouts, but the swarm adapted instantly, splitting into smaller units that rejoined elsewhere, reforming the formation like a living storm. The crowned entity's crown flared violently. It released a pulse that resonated through the battlefield, compressing space itself. Asteroids cracked, stars flickered, even Beerus was pushed back, though he stabilized. Vegeta gritted his teeth. "You think this will stop me?" He charged forward, aura roaring like a star about to explode. Every strike now was a probe and a pressure point, attacking weaknesses in the swarm's cohesion and in the crowned entity's control simultaneously. The entity's eyes glowed brighter, pupils narrowing. It extended its hand, and gravity bent around it, pulling Vegeta and Beerus toward it with a force that could crush planets. The scouts followed, moving in perfect harmony, a tidal wave of destructive energy. Vegeta smirked. "Good, pressure. Let's see how you handle it." He vanished again, striking from multiple positions at once. He aimed not just for brute force, but for disruption, breaking adaptive connections, scattering the swarm, forcing the entity to constantly recalibrate. Every strike forced a reaction, every reaction revealed a pattern. The crowned entity recoiled slightly, for the first time showing a flicker of hesitation. Scouts faltered in their movement, mid-strike, mid-flight. Energy lines shimmered with instability. Beerus's tail flicked. Interesting, the Saiyans' adaptation is exceeding expectation. Whis' staff pulsed, illuminating space. Yes, he is forcing the hive mind to evolve faster than it can process. Vegeta's aura surged to its peak, blue and white blending into silver. Lightning fled violently, arcs of energy striking scouts and the entity in rapid succession. Each attack tore gaps in the formation, forcing the entity to divert energy to maintain cohesion. The crowned entity's eyes widened. It realized something crucial. Vegeta was not just a threat to the swarm. He was a variable the hive mind could not fully anticipate. And that realization that it could be outpaced, outmaneuvered, and out-evolved made the violet aura ripple with uncertainty. Vegeta hovered, fists crackling, breathing steady. Around him, shards of shattered scouts floated, disconnected energy trails fizzing out. Beerus exhaled slowly. "Ah, now this is entertaining." Vegeta smirked faintly, eyes cold. "You wanted to challenge me?" The crowned entity shifted, scanning, analyzing, preparing for a counter-strike, but Vegeta's aura surged again. White-hot energies spiraled outward, lightning lashing in impossible arcs, forcing the entity to split attention between offense and defense. The battlefield trembled. Planets in orbit shifted slightly, stars flickered, the void itself warped. And far beyond, new distortions began to shimmer faintly. More scouts, perhaps, or something larger, something even older. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. He wasn't afraid, he didn't need to be. He had faced gods, devourers, and armies of Viltrumites. But he understood one thing. This battle had only just begun. Space trembled, trembling like the edge of a blade suspended over an abyss. The battlefield stretched across the void, a shattered expanse where stars had been dimmed. Asteroids splintered, and the vacuum itself quivered under the weight of energy. Scouts of the crowned entity swirled like living storms, their violet adaptive energy streaming outward in synchronized waves. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura blazing with edge blue, his muscles tense, lightning cracking violently along his body. Every attack he launched now wasn't just brute force, it was strategy incarnate, designed to expose the entity's weaknesses in real time. Beerus drifted beside him, purple Hakai energy radiating like a lethal mist. "Shh, mortals always overestimate themselves," he muttered, yet even his tail flicked with interest as he observed Vegeta's technique. Whis floated above, staff glowing softly, watching the battlefield with unblinking eyes. Lord Beerus is evolving faster than anticipated. His adaptation is now influencing the swarm directly. Vegeta smirked faintly, ignoring the conversation. Every strike shattered scouts mid-flight, but the swarm itself adapted, redistributing energy and recalibrating attacks in milliseconds. It wasn't chaotic, it was organized chaos, precise and lethal. From the distant fracture the crowned entity observed. It shifted slightly, crown glowing brighter, energy tendrils snaking outward to reinforce its scouts. Its strategy was clear: overwhelm the variable before it could surpass the hive mind. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. "Good," he muttered under his breath. "Then I'll make sure you don't have the time to think." He surged forward, striking from multiple angles at once, a blur of motion and light. His fists connected, tearing apart scouts mid-flight, scattering fragments into nothingness. Yet, for every scout destroyed, 2 more took its place, adapting to his attack patterns faster than he could anticipate. Beerus's purple aura flared. He extended a hand, and entire clusters of scouts disintegrated under Hakai energy. "Enough games," he said dryly. Yet the swarm continued, fragments rejoining others, strengthening the collective. Vegeta's aura pulsed violently, arcs of electricity lancing outward, spiraling as he targeted the crowned entity directly. His attacks weren't random, they were surgical, designed to disrupt the synchronization of the scouts while pressuring the entity itself. The crowned entity recoiled slightly. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty passed through its violet aura. The hive mind hesitated. Whis observed, voice calm yet carrying weight. "He is forcing it to adapt faster than it can process. This is unprecedented." Vegeta's blue-white aura flared brighter, lightning snapping violently as he prepared a concentrated strike. Energy coalesced into a pulsating sphere between his hands. "Final strike," he growled, teeth bared. Beerus's eyes narrowed. "Careful. Much output could destabilize the local cosmos if misdirected." Vegeta ignored him. He shot forward at impossible speed, energy sphere blazing, directly targeting the crowned entity. Scouts swarmed to intercept, adaptive energy lancing outward, but Vegeta moved faster than their calculations allowed, striking multiple points simultaneously, tearing gaps in the entity's defenses. The crowned entity's eyes glowed wider. The cracks forming in its armor pulsed violently as energy was absorbed, redirected, and countered, but the pressure was mounting. Suddenly the crowned entity acted. A pulse of violet energy expanded outward, shattering space itself around it. Fragments of scouts vaporized mid-air, others thrown violently backward, yet the swarm remained cohesive, recalibrating instantly. Vegeta paused mid-flight. His aura flared violently, lightning snapping outward like a cage of pure energy. He could feel the hive mind recalibrating, sensing his intent, predicting his trajectory. He smirked faintly. Good. You'll need to do better than that. His aura condensed, lightning arcs snapping faster, energy gathering in every strike, every movement, every thought. He wasn't just fighting anymore. He was teaching, adapting, evolving, each strike designed to break the swarm's collective logic. Beerus crossed his arms, watching intently. He may just be dangerous enough to make this interesting. Wiss's staff pulsed. Yes, though I fear the entity has only begun its assessment. The crowned one is calculating more than a fence. It is learning our very patterns. Vegeta gritted his teeth. His eyes narrowed. Then I'll show it. Why evolution doesn't wait for permission. The void around them shimmered violently as Vegeta surged forward, lightning blinding in intensity. Every strike tore through scouts and tore cracks in the crowned entity's defenses. Energy spiraled outward, warping the vacuum around him, distorting distant stars, splitting asteroid fragments, and bending light in impossible arcs. The crowned entity raised a hand. Energy lances shot outward, synchronized, precise, enough to annihilate a planet if even slightly miscalculated. Yet Vegeta countered faster, sharper, anticipating the attack before it fully formed. A violent collision erupted mid-void. Sparks of blue-white energy clashed with violet lances, a storm of pure force. The shockwave radiated outward, bending reality itself. For the first time, the crowned entity hesitated. It had calculated, adapted, absorbed, but Vegeta was evolving faster than the hive mind could compensate. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing, teeth gritted, fists charged. He had become the variable, the factor that the crowned entity had not accounted for. And in that instant, a new thought struck him, a silent challenge. They hadn't come alone. Far beyond the sealed fractures, more presences stirred. Observers, predators, entities older than light drawn by the chaos. Vegeta's smirk deepened. Shh, it's just got fun. The void shimmered violently as new presences rippled through space. They didn't just appear. They bent reality around them, small distortions growing into full-blown anomalies, like the universe itself was being rewritten to accommodate their presence. Vegeta hovered in the forefront, blue-white aura blazing brighter than ever. Lightning arced across his body, each flash illuminating shards of shattered scouts and remnants of destroyed asteroids. He was no longer reacting, he was anticipating, predicting, forcing the swarm to reveal its flaws. Beerus floated beside him, purple energy radiating in quiet authority. His tail flicked lazily, but his golden eyes betrayed caution. Interesting, he muttered. The Saiyan adapts him, but he may be attracting attention beyond what he can handle. Wiss's staff pulsed softly. Indeed, Lord Beerus, the fractures we sealed are destabilizing again. There are other observers, or predators, moving toward this system. Vegeta's jaw tightened. Let them come. I've handled worse. Suddenly the crowned entity raised its arms. Scouts surged with coordinated precision, forming walls, spears, and cages of violet energy around Vegeta and Beerus. Each movement perfectly calculated, each strike a trap designed to isolate and crush. Vegeta gritted his teeth, aura flaring to near white intensity. Shh! Predictable. He dashed forward, moving faster than the eye could follow, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Energy arcs streaked outward, disintegrating clusters of scouts and tearing gaps in the formation. Yet, for every cluster destroyed, fragments merged into the remaining swarm, strengthening them further. Beerus's tail flicked again. Purple energy expanded outward, erasing swarms of scouts, but the collective adapted almost instantly. The crowned entity's influence was vast. its network of energy lines spanning the battlefield like a web. Vegeta's aura flared, bolts of electricity snapping violently. He had evolved mid-battle, instinctive, fluid, precise. Every strike wasn't just attack, it was a test, forcing the entity to allocate resources to defend itself while trying to maintain control of the hive. The crowned entity's crown glowed brighter, tendrils of violet energy snaking outward, attempting to overwhelm Vegeta's attacks. For the first time, it reacted defensively, creating shields, redirecting scouts, adjusting formation, but Vegeta anticipated the adaptation. With a burst of pure speed, Vegeta struck at multiple weak points simultaneously, disrupting the hive network. The cracks that formed were small but significant, energy fragments scattered into space, unstable, flickering, unable to fully merge. The crowned entity recoiled slightly, its violet eyes narrowed. It hadn't expected a single warrior to pressure it so effectively. Beerus's tail flicked lazily. He's forcing the entity into reaction mode. How entertaining. Whiss's staff glowed, faint ripples extending outward. Yet more fractures are opening, others are coming, far older, far more dangerous. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. His aura snapped violently, arcs of lightning lancing outward. He wasn't just fighting anymore. He was forcing evolution itself, each strike adapting, countering and destabilizing the hive mind of the scouts. From one of the distant fractures, a colossal silhouette appeared, not a scout, not humanoid, something ancient, something that had survived the birth of stars. Its eyes glowed faintly, observing, calculating, and waiting for the perfect moment to intervene. The crowned entity sensed it instantly. Its scouts froze mid-strike, their energy flickering as if confused. The entity tilted its head. For the first time, its aura pulsed with caution. Vegeta smirked faintly, aura flaring brighter. Gee, you're not the only one who can force adaptation. Lightning arced across the battlefield as he surged forward, striking at scouts, the crowned entity, and the incoming ancient presence simultaneously. Every strike precise, every movement calculated. The void itself seemed to pulse with the energy of a warrior beyond prediction. Beerus crossed his arms, observing, purple aura flaring in faint arcs. He may just be the one to truly challenge them. Whiss's voice remained calm, though a faint crease appeared on his brow. Yeah, but even his limits may soon be tested beyond endurance. The observers approaching are no ordinary entities. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing violently, fists clenched. He was ready. Not just to fight the crowned entity, not just to counter the swarm, but to face whatever ancient force was now converging on this battlefield. The void quaked as the silhouette advanced, energy emanating from it that twisted space and time. Even Beerus's tail flicked with interest and caution. Vegeta's smirk widened. Good. I like a real challenge. And in that instant, the void erupted again as the ancient presence fully entered, massive, terrifying, eyes glowing like collapsing suns. Its arrival wasn't just observed, it was felt. The battlefield shifted, scouts scattered, and even the crowned entity paused, acknowledging the new factor. Vegeta clenched his fists, aura bursting with energy. His voice cut through the void, fierce, unwavering. Let's see who truly controls evolution. The void was no longer empty. It had become a battlefield of unimaginable scale, where energy, light, and matter collided in ways that defied natural law. The ancient presence loomed above, colossal, darkly radiant, its eyes burning with a brilliance that seemed to bend time itself. Scouts that had once swarmed like a perfect storm now scattered in response, adaptive energy flaring, trying to reorganize, but every movement was delayed by the entity's overwhelming presence. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura flaring violently, blue-white energy spiraling around him. His body moved almost instinctively, each motion a blend of offense, defense, and prediction. Lightning arced violently across his frame as he lunged forward, striking scouts and fragments of the crowned entity's adaptive forces. Each blow was precise, tearing through armor and energy defenses, leaving cracks that flickered like fragile glass. Beerus observed from above, purple aura coiling like smoke around him. Impressive, he muttered, but this new presence, it is older than the universe itself. Whis' staff glowed, faint ripples of light extending outward, revealing the subtle warping of space caused by the ancient presence. Lord Beerus, it is not only powerful, it interprets adaptation differently than the crown or the scouts. It thinks in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. Chish, then I'll have to fight across dimensions myself. He surged forward under a blur of blue-white light, striking multiple scouts while simultaneously targeting fractures in the void around the ancient presence. Each strike forced a reaction, disrupting adaptive energy flow, but the entity was quick. Its hands moved, releasing violet energy waves that distorted space, tearing apart trajectories, redirecting Vegeta mid-flight. The crowned entity tried to rally its scouts, but the ancient presence's aura overpowered their collective will. Even the hive mind trembled, fragments flickering, unable to maintain perfect coordination. Vegeta smirked faintly, aura exploding violently. Finally, someone who pushes back. Lightning and energy arcs surged across the void as he struck again, targeting weak points in both scouts and the crowned entity's armor. The swarm recoiled, fragments scattering into the void, some destroyed, some destabilized. The crowned entity shifted, adapting, but the ancient presence remained calm, radiating a pressure that warped reality. Beerus's eyes narrowed. This is truly worth observing. He flicked his tail, purple energy rippling outward, erasing clusters of scouts, though the ancient presence remained untouched. Whis spoke softly. The Saiyan is influencing not just the crown and scouts, but now the ancient presence itself. It recognizes his evolution as a variable. Vegeta's aura flared to near-white brilliance, arcs of lightning lancing outward. He moved faster than before, striking at multiple targets, his speed and precision forcing the crowned entity to split its attention. The ancient presence reacted. Energy pulses radiated outward, tearing at the very fabric of space, knocking scouts and fragments violently aside and shifting the battlefield itself. Stars dimmed, planets trembled in orbit, and the void seemed to compress and stretch in impossible patterns. Vegeta smirked, eyes cold. Not bad, Tsar, not bad at all. He vanished, appearing in multiple positions simultaneously, striking both scouts and the crowned entity in ways it couldn't anticipate. The fragments of its forces faltered, recalibrating while the ancient presence's violet energy flared, a silent acknowledgement of Vegeta's growing influence. Beerus's tail flicked lazily, though his eyes glimmered with interest. The Saiyan may actually force the Ancient One to react. Whis' staff pulsed gently. Yeah, but the consequences could destabilize the system. He is a variable that could challenge even divine judgment. Vegeta hovered in the void, aura blazing, fists charged with white-hot energy. Every strike, every movement, every decision was a lesson in adaptation, forcing both the crowned entity and the ancient presence to constantly adjust. The scouts surged again, attempting to encircle him, but the ancient presence intervened, releasing a pulse of energy that twisted space. Vegeta was pushed back, aura flaring violently, yet he recovered instantly, moving faster than the recalculated trajectories, striking with pinpoint precision. The crowned entity hissed, fragments of armor splintering, energy flickering across its form. It realized something crucial. Vegeta was no longer just a warrior, he was the ultimate variable. Vegeta's smirk widened, aura blazing brighter, lightning snapping in wild, jagged arcs. Good. You finally realize evolution waits for no one. The void around them quaked violently. New fractures shimmered faintly, signaling more observers moving closer. Entities older than stars drawn to the chaos, sensing the immense power radiating from Vegeta and the battle unfolding. Vegeta clenched his fists, energy coiling like a living storm. He was ready, not just to fight the crowned entity, not just to counter the swarm, not just to challenge the ancient presence, but to become the factor that none of them could predict. And in that moment, space itself seemed to whisper, this battle would change everything. The void shuddered like a living thing. Stars flickered, asteroids shattered mid-orbit, and the vacuum itself seemed to warp with every pulse of energy that erupted across the battlefield. The ancient presence floated at the center, colossal, unyielding, its violet aura rippling outward in waves that twisted space, bending light and gravity alike. Vegeta hovered, aura flaring violently, lightning snapping across his body in blinding arcs. His fists moved with terrifying precision, energy compressing, releasing, adapting with every motion. Every strike he launched was a probe, every kick a disruption, forcing the scouts and even the crowned entity to constantly recalibrate. The swarm of scouts moved like one being, yet the ancient presence disrupted their synchronization with pulses of reality-warping energy. Fragments of the scouts scattered, some destroyed, some destabilized, and yet more emerged from the fractures behind, adaptive, learning faster with each iteration. Vegeta's jaw tightened. Shh. Predictable. He vanished, reappearing behind the nearest scouts, fists colliding with armor that fractured but did not break fully. Lightning flared violently around him, arcs lancing outward, shredding fragments mid-flight. Beerus hovered nearby, tail flicking, golden eyes sharp. Purple Hakai energy radiated outward, disintegrating swarms of scouts before they could attack. But the adaptive swarm compensated almost instantly. Even Beerus's divine energy could only slow the tide. His staff glowed as he analyzed the battlefield. Lord Beerus, this Saiyan is influencing not just the crown and scouts, but the ancient presence itself. It senses his evolution as a critical variable. Vegeta's aura deepened to white-hot intensity. Energy arced wildly as he surged forward, striking the crowned entity and the scouts with surgical precision. The hive mind faltered, unable to perfectly synchronize under the pressure of his speed and adaptability. The ancient presence tilted its colossal head, eyes burning brighter. It had calculated almost every pattern, but Vegeta was exceeding prediction. Every attack forced it to divert energy, splitting its focus between offense, defense, and maintaining control over its scouts. Vegeta smirked faintly. Good, that's exactly what I wanted. He vanished again, striking from multiple positions simultaneously. Every movement forced fractures in the swarm's formation, tearing energy connections, destabilizing adaptive feedback. The crowned entity hissed, violet cracks of energy spreading across its armor. Beerus's tail flicked, aura flaring in sharp arcs. He may just force the Ancient One to react in ways even I would not anticipate. From behind, more rifts shimmered faintly. Energy signatures far older than the universe itself were converging, drawn to the chaos. Observers, predators, ancient forces, their presence pressed on the battlefield, unseen but felt by every combatant. Vegeta's aura flared brighter. He clenched his fists, eyes cold, teeth bared. Shh, let them come. I've handled worse. The ancient presence released a pulse of violet energy that warped space violently, knocking scouts and fragments aside. Vegeta's aura exploded in retaliation, arcs of lightning snapping wildly, energy spiraling outward, forcing the entity to split its focus further. The crowned entity faltered. Its hive mind scattered, unable to fully adapt to the sheer unpredictability of Vegeta's attacks. It had underestimated him. This Saiyan wasn't just fighting, he was evolving in real time, forcing evolution upon the enemy. Vegeta smirked again, aura blazing, energy spiraling in impossible arcs. Good. Finally, a real challenge. And above the battlefield, faint ripples shimmered, signaling that others were ally, entities older, more powerful, and even more unpredictable. Vegeta clenched his fists, energy coiling violently around him, aura blazing like a supernova. Let's see who truly controls evolution. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered, and the crowned entity for the first time paused in full recognition. Vegeta was no longer just a warrior. He was the variable that could change everything. The battlefield stretched across the void like a tapestry of chaos. Stars flickered as arcs of blue-white energy collided with violet streams, shattering fragments of adaptive scouts mid-flight. Asteroids spun violently, shattered by shockwaves of ki and ancient energy. Every movement from Vegeta sent ripples through the battlefield, bending space, warping light, and forcing even the crowned entity to reconsider its strategies. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura roaring, lightning snapping like fractured glass across his body. His eyes narrowed, calculating, adapting. Every strike wasn't random, it was precise, a direct challenge to the hive mind's synchronization. Each blow shattered armor, tore energy connections, and forced scouts to reorganize faster than they could anticipate. Beerus observed quietly, tail flicking, purple energy coiling around him like smoke. He is no ordinary Saiyan. He forces them to adapt rather than react. Whis' staff pulsed softly, illuminating the battlefield. Yes, and now, with the ancient presence fully engaged, even the crowned entity is challenged. It is recognizing him as a critical variable in its calculations. Vegeta smirked faintly, aura flaring brighter. Lightning cracked across his arms, spiraling outward in jagged arcs. Shh, this isn't just a fight, this is evolution in motion. He surged forward, faster than light seemed to allow, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Scouts shattered, fragments fizzled and scattered, adaptive patterns broke, but each strike forced recalibration, not only for the crowned entity, but now for the ancient presence, whose colossal form radiated energy so vast that reality itself quivered. The crowned entity hissed, energy flickering across its armor. Its hive mind faltered under the pressure, unable to fully synchronize with the adaptive swarm while compensating for the unpredictable Saiyan. Vegeta's aura fled to white-hot intensity. He dashed between fragments and scouts, striking with surgical precision, tearing gaps in formations, splitting the tension, forcing the entities to react constantly rather than dominate. The ancient presence responded. A pulse radiated outward, warping space violently, shifting trajectories, and attempting to crush the Saiyan with a gravitational distortion strong enough to shatter planets. But Vegeta moved faster, arcs of energy snapping violently, striking while simultaneously avoiding the massive waves. Beerus's golden eyes narrowed. The Saiyan is truly something. He is influencing the ancient presence, not just surviving it. Whis' voice carried faint concern. Indeed, he is now more than a fighter. He's a catalyst. Everything here is adapting to him, but the scale is dangerous. Vegeta's fists glowed, energy coiling like a living storm. He struck the crowned entity directly, multiple blows in a single instant. Cracks spread across the violet armor, energy flickering like lightning through the glass. The entity hesitated for the first time in history. The swarm faltered, fragments of scouts scattering as their synchronization broke. The ancient presence's colossal form wavered, energy pulses flickering as it tried to compensate. Vegeta's smirk widened. Aura blazing, he hovered, fists charged. Shh! Finally. You see now why evolution favors those who adapt faster than the threat itself. Suddenly, more fractures opened behind the battlefield. Faint silhouettes shimmered, massive, ancient entities moving closer, drawn by the chaotic energy that Vegeta had unleashed. Even the crowned entity shifted, recognizing that this battle was no longer contained. It had escalated beyond prediction. Vegeta clenched his fists, energy spiraling outward in arcs of pure power. Lightning and Ki flared violently, colliding with violet energy, shaking the void itself. "Bring them on," he growled, eyes cold. "I've fought gods. I've fought devourers. I've survived the impossible. Let's see what comes next." The void trembled. Stars flickered, fragments spun, and scouts scattered as the new presences approached. The crowned entity paused, aura flickering, for the first time acknowledging Vegeta as a force beyond calculation. Vegeta's smirk deepened, aura blazing like a supernova. Let's see who truly controls evolution. The battlefield went silent, only for a heartbeat. Then the new entities emerged fully, colossal and radiating power that dwarfed even the crowned entity. Space itself seemed to compress, and energy waves rippled outward, striking both Vegeta and the forces around him. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, fists glowing violently. He wasn't afraid. He had become the variable no entity could predict. And in that instant the universe seemed to pause, holding its breath for the next move. The void trembled as the new arrivals fully manifested. Colossal silhouettes, older than galaxies, radiated energy so dense it distorted space and bent light. Their forms were alien, impossible to fully comprehend, but their intent was clear. The chaos Vegeta had ignited had drawn predators, judges, and entities beyond reckoning. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura blazing white-hot, arcs of lightning snapping violently across his frame. He had evolved mid-battle, his body and mind adapting faster than any calculation the crowned entity or its scouts could anticipate. He was no longer just a warrior, he was a living catalyst of evolution, forcing even the oldest presences to react. The crowned entity shifted, its violet aura flickering with tension. Its swarm of scouts began to falter, fragments scattering as the presence of the new arrivals distorted the hive mind's synchronization. Adaptive energy pulsed violently as the entity tried to maintain control, yet even it could not anticipate the scale of power now converging. Beerus hovered nearby, tail flicking, purple Hakai energy coiling around him like a living mist. This is more than I expected," he muttered, golden eyes narrowing. "I see now why this Saiyan is exceptional." Whis' staff glowed, illuminating the battlefield in pale light. "Lord Beerus, these new arrivals are unlike anything in this universe. They perceive threats in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and they are reacting to Vegeta's presence. The Saiyan has become a factor beyond prediction." Vegeta smirked faintly, aura roaring, lightning snapping. "Good. Let's see who adapts faster." He surged forward, a blur of blue-white light, striking scouts and fragments of the crowned entity while simultaneously maneuvering around the colossal new presences. Every strike was precise, tearing cracks in armor and energy defenses. The scouts faltered under pressure, recalibrating faster than ever, yet struggling against the chaos of multiple threats. The crowned entity hissed, violet energy flickering across its form. Its hive mind struggled, attempting to synchronize scouts while now facing the massive presence of the ancient entities. The adaptation that once made it unstoppable was no longer enough. Vegeta's aura flared, arcs of lightning lancing outward. He moved faster than the eye could follow, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Each attack forced recalibration, destabilizing the swarm and disrupting the crowned entity's defenses. The largest of the new arrivals extended an arm, releasing a pulse of energy that bent reality itself. Space twisted violently, throwing scouts and fragments aside, yet Vegeta dodged effortlessly, aura flaring with intensity. Beerus raised a hand. Purple Hakai energy expanded outward, disintegrating clusters of scouts, yet the ancient presences remained untouched. Whis floated calmly, though his eyes reflected concern. Even with divine intervention, their scale is overwhelming. The Saiyan is influencing not only the crown and scouts, but now the ancient presences themselves. He has become a pivot upon which the battlefield turns. Vegeta's fists glowed, energy coiling like a living storm. Lightning and Kai spiraled outward, striking at scouts, the crowned entity, and the castle arrivals. Every strike disrupted adaptive connections, forcing recalibration and destabilizing defenses. The crowned entity staggered slightly under the pressure. Its hive mind struggled, energy lines flickering as it attempted to maintain synchronization. The ancient presences pulsed, acknowledging Vegeta's influence, a silent recognition that he was no ordinary combatant. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing violetly, eyes cold. He had become the variable that no entity, no hive, and no ancient presence could fully anticipate. And far beyond the fractures, faint distortions shimmered, a warning that even greater forces were approaching, drawn by the escalating power and chaos. Vegeta clenched his fists, aura exploding like a supernova. Shh, let's see who really controls evolution. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered. The crowned entity faltered, and the ancient presences paused, recognizing that Vegeta had become the ultimate factor, the variable that could rewrite the battlefield itself. The void trembled as the new arrivals fully manifested. Colossal silhouettes, older than galaxies, radiated energy so dense it distorted space and bent light. Their forms were alien, impossible to fully comprehend, but their intent was clear. The chaos Vegeta had ignited had drawn predators, judges, and entities beyond reckoning. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura blazing white-hot, arcs of lightning snapping violently across his frame. He had evolved mid-battle, his body and mind adapting faster than any calculation the crowned entity or its scouts could anticipate. He was no longer just a warrior, he was a living catalyst of evolution, forcing even the oldest presences to react. The crowned entity shifted, its violet aura flickering with tension. Its swarm of scouts began to falter, fragments scattering as the presence of the new arrivals distorted the hive mind's synchronization. Adaptive energy pulsed violently as the entity tried to maintain control, yet even it could not anticipate the scale of power now converging. Beerus hovered nearby, tail flicking, purple Hakai energy coiling around him like a living mist. This is more than I expected," he muttered, golden eyes narrowing. "I see now why this Saiyan is exceptional." Whis' staff glowed, illuminating the battlefield in pale light. "Lord Beerus, these new arrivals are unlike anything in this universe. They perceive threats in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and they are reacting to Vegeta's presence. The Saiyan has become a factor beyond prediction." Vegeta smirked faintly, aura roaring, lightning snapping. "Good, let's see who adapts faster." He surged forward, a blur of blue-white light, striking scouts and fragments of the crowned entity while simultaneously maneuvering around the colossal new presences. Every strike was precise, tearing cracks in armor and energy defenses. The scouts faltered under pressure, recalibrating faster than ever, yet struggling against the chaos of multiple threats. The crowned entity hissed, violet energy flickering across its form. Its hive mind struggled, attempting to synchronize scouts, while now facing the massive presence of the ancient entities. The adaptation that once made it unstoppable was no longer enough. Vegeta's aura flared, arcs of lightning lancing outward. He moved faster than the eye could follow, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Each attack forced recalibration, destabilizing the swarm and disrupting the crowned entity's defenses. The largest of the new arrivals extended an arm, releasing a pulse of energy that bent reality itself. Space twisted violently, throwing scouts and fragments aside, yet Vegeta dodged effortlessly, aura flaring with intensity. Beerus raised a hand. Purple Hakai energy expanded outward, disintegrating clusters of scouts, yet the ancient presences remained untouched. Whis floated calmly, though his eyes reflected concern. Even with divine intervention, their scale is overwhelming. The Saiyan is influencing not only the crown and scouts, but now the ancient presences themselves. He has become a pivot upon which the battlefield turns. Vegeta's fists glowed, energy coiling like a living storm. Lightning and Kai spiraled outward, striking at scouts, the crowned entity, and the colossal arrivals. Every strike disrupted adaptive connections, forcing recalibration and destabilizing defenses. The crowned entity staggered slightly under the pressure. Its hive mind struggled, energy lines flickering as it attempted to maintain synchronization. The ancient presences pulsed, acknowledging Vegeta's influence, a silent recognition that he was no ordinary combatant. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing violently, eyes cold. He had become the variable that no entity, no hive, and no ancient presence could fully anticipate. And far beyond the fractures, faint distortion shimmered, a warning that even greater forces were approaching, drawn by the escalating power and chaos. Vegeta clenched his fists, aura exploding like a supernova. Let's see who really controls evolution. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered, the crowned entity faltered. And the ancient presences paused, recognizing that Vegeta had become the ultimate factor, the variable that could rewrite the battlefield itself. The void trembled as the new arrivals fully manifested. Colossal silhouettes, older than galaxies, radiated energy so dense it distorted space and bent light. Their forms were alien, impossible to fully comprehend, but their intent was clear. The chaos Vegeta had ignited had drawn predators, judges, and entities beyond reckoning. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura blazing white-hot, arcs of lightning snapping violently across his frame. He had evolved mid-battle, his body and mind adapting faster than any calculation the crowned entity or its scouts could anticipate. He was no longer just a warrior. He was a living catalyst of evolution, forcing even the oldest presences to react. The crowned entity shifted, its violet aura flickering with tension. Its swarm of scouts began to falter, fragments scattering as the presence of the new arrivals distorted the hive mind's synchronization. Adaptive energy pulsed violently as the entity tried to maintain control, yet even it could not anticipate the scale of power now converging. Beerus hovered nearby, tail flicking, purple Hakai energy coiling around him like a living mist. This is more than I expected, he muttered, golden eyes narrowing. I see now why this Saiyan is exceptional. Whis' staff glowed illuminating the battlefield in pale light. Lord Beerus, these new arrivals are unlike anything in this universe. They perceive threats in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and they are reacting to Vegeta's presence. The Saiyan has become a factor beyond prediction. Vegeta smirked faintly, aura roaring, lightning snapping. Good. Let's see who adapts faster. He surged forward, a blur of blue-white light, striking scouts and fragments of the crowned entity while simultaneously maneuvering around the colossal new presences. Every strike was precise, tearing cracks in armor and energy defenses. The scouts faltered under pressure, recalibrating faster than ever, yet struggling against the chaos of multiple threats. The crowned entity hissed, violet energy flickering across its form. Its hive mind struggled, attempting to synchronize scouts while now facing the massive presence of the ancient entities. The adaptation that once made it unstoppable was no longer enough. Vegeta's aura flared, arcs of lightning lancing outward. He moved faster than the eye could follow, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Each attack forced recalibration, destabilizing the swarm and disrupting the crowned entity's defenses. The largest of the new arrivals extended an arm, releasing a pulse of energy that bent reality itself. Space twisted violently, throwing scouts and fragments aside, yet Vegeta dodged effortlessly, aura flaring with intensity. Beerus raised a hand. Purple Hakai energy expanded outward, disintegrating clusters of scouts, yet the ancient presences remained untouched. Whis floated calmly, though his eyes reflected concern. Even with divine intervention, their scale is overwhelming. The Saiyan is influencing not only the crown and scouts, but now the ancient presences themselves. He has become a pivot upon which the battlefield turns. Vegeta's fists glowed, energy coiling like a living storm. Lightning and Kai spiraled outward, striking at scouts, the crowned entity, and the colossal arrivals. Every strike disrupted adaptive connections, forcing recalibration and destabilizing defenses. The crowned entity staggered slightly under the pressure. Its hive mind struggled, energy lines flickering as it attempted to maintain synchronization. The ancient presences pulsed, acknowledging Vegeta's influence, a silent recognition that he was no ordinary combatant. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing violently, eyes cold. He had become the variable that no entity, no hive, and no ancient presence could fully anticipate. And far beyond the fractures, faint distortions shimmered, a warning that even greater forces were approaching, drawn by the escalating power and chaos. Vegeta clenched his fists, aura exploding like a supernova. Gee, let's see who really controls evolution. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered, the crowned entity faltered, and the ancient presences paused, recognizing that Vegeta had become the ultimate factor, the variable that could rewrite the battlefield itself. The void quaked violently. Energy pulses radiated outward from Vegeta like shockwaves, twisting the fractured space around him. Lightning arced furiously across his body, his aura a blinding fusion of blue, white, and silver. Every strike, every movement, every ki blast was precise, adaptive, unstoppable, a force that even the crowned entity and its swarm struggled to calculate. The colossal ancient presences shifted, their forms radiating power that made distant stars quiver. Yet even they hesitated. Something about Vegeta's energy, fluid, evolving, unpredictable, threatened their dominance. The void seemed to recognize him as an anomaly, a factor that could destabilize even the oldest beings in existence. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, fists charged, teeth bared. "Tch, you think raw scale can overwhelm me?" His voice echoed through the void, carrying the weight of challenge itself. Scouts swarmed toward him, adaptive and precise, yet every strike Vegeta launched tore cracks in their coordination. The crowned entity hissed, energy flickering as it attempted to recalibrate, its hive mind strained under pressure, unable to fully synchronize with the incoming chaos. Beerus floated nearby, aura coiling. The Saiyan isn't just surviving, he's dominating the battlefield's variables. Whiss's staff glowed softly. Indeed, Lord Beerus. He is forcing evolution on all sides. The crowned entity, the scouts, even the ancient presences, they are all reacting to him. He has become a catalyst of change. Vegeta vanished in a burst of energy, appearing simultaneously at multiple points. Every strike hit its mark, tearing apart armor, shredding adaptive energy, and forcing recalibration. The void itself seemed to pulse in response to his power. The crowned entity raised a hand. Violet tendrils shot outward, attempting to constrict, isolate, and annihilate Vegeta. Yet he twisted mid-air, arcs of ki snapping violently, striking scouts and energy constructs in multiple trajectories at once. The entity faltered. For the first time, its aura flickered with calculated caution. The largest ancient presence released a pulse so intense that it warped space, threatening to crush everything within a light-year radius. Vegeta's aura exploded further, arcs of lightning lancing outward, energy coiling around him like a cage of living force. He darted through the pulse, striking simultaneously at scouts and fragments of the crowned entity. Beerus exhaled slowly. He's influencing even the Ancient One's actions. That is remarkable. Whiss's staff pulsed. Yes, but the scale is dangerous. Each strike Vegeta lands forces adaptation, but the consequences may ripple far beyond this system. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. Aura blazing violently, he surged forward again, striking in perfect synchronization with himself, tearing cracks into the entity's armor, forcing the hive mind to fracture, destabilizing scouts mid-flight. The crowned entity hissed, energy flickering violently. Its purple crown pulsed in warning. The swarm faltered. Even the colossal ancient presences paused, recognizing the Saiyan as a factor beyond prediction. Vegeta hovered, fists charged, aura roaring. Lightning and Kai spiraled outward, colliding with violet energy, shaking the void itself. His grin was faint, cruel, and cold. Good, now you understand. Evolution waits for no one, not even gods. From the distant fractures, faint ripples shimmered. More presences, observers older and deadlier than stars, were moving closer, drawn to the battlefield's escalating chaos. Vegeta clenched his fists, energy coiling like a living storm. Shh! Let them come. I fought gods' devourers, armies, and survived the impossible. Let's see who's next. The void trembled violently. Scouts scattered. The crowned entity faltered. Ancient presences paused, and Vegeta, aura blazing like a supernova, had become the ultimate variable, the factor that could rewrite the rules of this war. The void had become a maelstrom of pure energy, a storm that defied comprehension. Lightning and Kai arced violently across shattered asteroids, while violet tendrils from the crowned entity and pulses from the ancient presences distorted space itself. Every movement, every strike, every flicker of power reshaped the battlefield. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura blazing white-hot, arcs of electricity snapping furiously across his frame. He had evolved mid-battle to a point where he was anticipating adaptation before it occurred, striking in ways that forced the hive mind and even the ancient presences to constantly readjust. The crowned entity hissed, purple energy flickering. Its hive mind struggled, shards of adaptive scouts destabilizing mid-air as Vegeta's attacks tore apart their coordination. The swarm's perfect synchronization faltered for the first time, fragments scattering into the void. Beerus's tail flicked lazily, but his eyes gleamed with faint interest. The Saiyan is no longer just a fighter. He's becoming a variable that bends the battlefield itself. Whiz's staff pulsed, faint light rippling outward. Indeed, he has become a catalyst. Every strike, every movement, forces adaptation across multiple layers. The scouts, the crowned entity, and the ancient presences themselves. He is now the factor upon which the tide of war pivots. Vegeta smirked, aura flaring, lightning snapping violently. Good. Let's see who can keep up with evolution in motion. He vanished, reappearing in multiple positions simultaneously, striking with surgical precision. Each strike tore through scouts, energy constructs, and cracks in the crowned entity's armor, forcing recalibration and destabilizing the hive mind. The largest ancient presence extended an arm, releasing a pulse that warped space violently, intending to crush Vegeta with gravity strong enough to shatter planets. Yet Vegeta twisted mid-flight, arcs of energy snapping outward, striking both scouts and fragments of the entity while evading the crushing force. Vegeta's grin widened. Aura blazing like a supernova, he struck again, directly at the crowned entity. Energy cracked across its violet armor, fragments scattering. The entity staggered slightly, an unfamiliar flicker of hesitation passing through its eyes. The swarm faltered. Adaptive fragments struggled to recombine. Even the colossal ancient presences seemed to pause, as if acknowledging Vegeta's unpredictable influence. Beerus exhaled, purple aura flaring sharply. He's pushing even the ancients to react. This is unprecedented. Whiz's staff pulsed again. Yes, though the consequences could destabilize the system entirely. Vegeta has become the fulcrum of this conflict, a variable no entity can fully anticipate. For Vegeta hovered, fists crackling with energy, aura spiraling in jagged arcs. Every strike, every movement, every surge of ki was a lesson in evolution, forcing the crowned entity and the ancient presences to constantly adjust. Suddenly, distant fractures shimmered. Faint silhouettes emerged, new observers, older and deadlier than the stars themselves, drawn by the chaos Vegeta had ignited. Even the crowned entity's violet aura flickered, recognizing that the war had escalated beyond its calculations. Vegeta clenched his fists, energy coiling violently around him. Lightning and Kai arcs lanced outward, striking scouts, fragments, and the ancient presences. His grin was sharp, confident, cold. Bring them on, he muttered, aura flaring to unimaginable intensity. I've survived gods, devourers, armies, and I will survive this. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered, the crowned entity faltered. Ancient presences paused, and at the center, Vegeta's aura blazed like a supernova of evolution, marking him as the variable that could rewrite the rules of this war itself. The void was unrecognizable. Shattered asteroids spun violently, stars flickered as energy waves collided, and reality itself seemed to warp under the immense forces at play. The crowned entity hovered, crown glowing violently, surrounded by its scouts, but even it struggled to maintain cohesion. The ancient presences loomed colossal and radiant, radiating energy that twisted space and bent light. Vegeta hovered at the forefront, aura a blinding fusion of white-hot and blue lightning. Every movement, every strike, every ki blast was instinctive yet calculated, a perfect balance of raw power and strategic precision. He wasn't merely attacking, he was forcing evolution upon the battlefield. The crowned entity hissed, fragments of its swarm scattering mid-flight as arcs of Vegeta's energy tore through their coordination. Its hive mind faltered, Unable to perfectly synchronize against the unpredictable onslaught, the entity's violet aura flickered, an unfamiliar sign of strain. Beerus's tail flicked lazily, but his golden eyes were sharp. This Saiyan isn't surviving by luck. He's bending the battlefield itself to his will. Whiss's staff pulsed, illuminating the war-torn void. Indeed, he has become a pivot around which the entire battle now revolves. Every strike, every movement forces adaptation, not only in the scouts and crowned entity, but in the ancient presences themselves. Vegeta smirked faintly. Aura flaring violently, he surged forward, appearing in multiple locations at once, each strike tearing through scouts, energy constructs, and cracks in the crowned entity's armor. Every motion destabilized adaptive connections, forcing recalibration. The largest ancient presence released a pulse of energy so massive that it bent light, twisted space, and threatened to crush everything in its radius. Yet Vegeta darted through it, arcs of ki snapping violently, striking both the crowned entity and the scouts simultaneously. Vegeta's grin widened. Tch! Finally, something that pushes me. Aura exploding, lightning spiraling, he struck again, this time directly at the crowned entity. Energy fractured its violet armor, shards scattering into the void. The entity staggered slightly, energy flickering with the first real sign of fear. The swarm faltered, adaptive fragments struggling to recombine. Even the colossal ancient presences paused, acknowledging Vegeta's unpredictable influence. The battlefield had shifted. He was now the variable they could not control. Beerus exhaled slowly. He's pushing even the ancients to their limits. Interesting. Whiss's staff pulsed faintly. Yeah, but these forces are older than the universe. Their response to him could destabilize the entire system. Vegeta hovered, fists crackling with pure energy. Lightning and ki arcs snapped outward, tearing through scouts' fragments and the ancient presence's defenses. His grin was cruel, cold, and confident. Shh! Bring them all, he muttered. I've survived gods, armies, and devourers. Nothing will stop me now. The void trembled violently. Stars flickered, asteroids cracked, scouts scattered, the crowned entity faltered. Ancient presences paused, and at the center of it all, Vegeta's aura blazed like a supernova, marking him as the ultimate variable, the factor capable of rewriting the rules of the war itself. The void screamed. Shattered asteroids, fragments of scouts, and energy arcs collided violently, tearing reality in jagged rifts. The crowned entity hovered, crown glowing with frantic violet energy, but its swarm had begun to fracture under Vegeta's relentless onslaught. The colossal ancient presences loomed, silent and massive, radiating power that made stars tremble. Yet even they paused, recognizing the Saiyan at the center of the chaos. Vegeta hovered, aura blazing white-hot, electricity lancing across him like jagged shards of light. His fists were charged, Kai spiraling violently, each pulse a hammer against the hive mind, the scouts, and the ancient forces alike. He wasn't merely fighting, he was teaching evolution through force, forcing every entity in the battlefield to adapt or fail. Shh, he muttered, eyes cold and calculating. Time to end this. The crowned entity's violet aura pulsed violently, its hive mind trying desperately to recombine scattered fragments of scouts. The ancient presences shifted slightly, observing, but even they seemed to hesitate. For the first time, the battlefield had a pivot, a factor none of them could control. Vegeta clenched his fists. Lightning arced violently, energy coiling around him in a blinding sphere of power. He surged forward, faster than the eye could follow, striking simultaneously at scouts, energy tendrils, and cracks, in the crowned entity's armor. Each blow shattered adaptive patterns, forced recalibration, and tore the swarm into pieces that could not recover in time. Beerus watched silently, purple Hakai energy coiling around him like mist. The Saiyan is no longer reacting, he's controlling the battlefield itself. Whiss's staff pulsed softly. Indeed, he has become the fulcrum. Every force here, scouts, crowned entity, even the ancient presences, is responding to him. He is not merely fighting, he is dictating the war. Vegeta's aura flared further, arcs of electricity spiraling outward in jagged patterns. He vanished in a blur, appearing behind the largest cluster of scouts, fists charged with concentrated energy. The sphere in his hands pulsed violently, brimming with pure destructive force. With a roar, he slammed the sphere into the ground of fractured space. The impact exploded outward in waves of white-blue energy that shattered the scouts into atomic fragments, ripped through the crowned entity's armor, and even disturbed the ancient presence's massive forms. The void itself trembled, energy waves bending light, gravity, and reality itself. The crowned entity shrieked, fragments scattering. Its hive mind faltered. Even the ancient presences recoiled slightly, acknowledging Vegeta's dominance. Vegeta smirked faintly, aura blazing, lightning snapping. Now it's over! He surged forward, moving faster than light, striking at the crowned entity relentlessly. Energy arcs tore its violet crown to shards, cracks spreading across its form. The swarm was no more. Fragments dissolved, destabilized beyond repair. The ancient presences exchanged silent recognition. They could not intervene without risking catastrophic feedback. Beerus's golden eyes widened slightly. The Saiyan is actually shutting down the war. Whis nodded faintly. Yes, the Invincible War, the system, the hive, the swarm, is collapsing under his influence. He has become the ultimate variable. Vegeta's aura exploded violently. Lightning and Kai's spiraled around him, coalescing into a massive, concentrated sphere of energy pulsating with raw power, ready to erase the crowned entity entirely. With a deafening roar, he thrust it forward. The sphere collided with the entity, shattering its form in an explosion that rippled across space, tearing apart rifts, scattering remaining scouts, and forcing the ancient presences to step back. The void fell silent for a heartbeat. Then, one by one, the fractures stabilized. The crowned entity was gone, its swarm obliterated. The ancient presences hovered, silent, massive, acknowledging the Saiyan who had stopped the Invincible War. Vegeta hovered in the center, aura blazing, fists clenched, breathing heavily. His smirk was faint, but satisfied. That's what happens when you underestimate evolution. Beerus exhaled slowly. Perhaps he truly is the Saiyan that can challenge the universe itself. Whiss's staff pulsed softly. Indeed. Vegeta has not merely survived, he has dictated the outcome of the Invincible War. Every force, every entity has responded to him as the variable none could calculate. The void began to settle. Fragments of scouts, energy remnants, and debris slowly faded, sucked into the residual energy left behind. The ancient presences hovered silently, their forms shimmering faintly before retreating into the fractures, leaving Vegeta alone in the void, victorious. Vegeta's aura dimmed slightly, lightning still snapping faintly around him. His chest heaved. He looked around at the remnants of the battlefield, the destruction, the chaos, the silence after the storm. He smirked faintly, almost quietly to himself. Titch, evolution waits for no one, not gods, not ancients, not even war itself. And with that, Vegeta's aura dissipated slowly, leaving him hovering alone in the void, the ultimate variable, the Saiyan who had shut down the Invincible War and rewritten the rules of combat in the universe. The void settled silent. Stars flickered back into place. Reality began to heal, yet the echoes of Vegeta's dominance remained, a permanent reminder that one warrior, unmatched in adaptation and will, could redefine the battlefield itself. The end.